Chapter 511. I am back. Shirori pushed open the door of her house and groggily called out in a breathless tone. Then her head drooped down tiredly. Her toes touched the ground, and she floated into the living room like a ghost. Welcome back. In the living room, Wu Yin, Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Shirori stood in a straight line with smiles on their faces. They greeted Shirori warmly. It was hard to tell that they had just opened the door a minute ago. Normally, Shirori would have figured something out from their weird behavior. But now, Shirori is pretty much burned out, so she didn't have the energy to think about anything else. She waved her hand helplessly at Wu Yin and company. Then, she maintained her ghostly form and floated toward the sofa. She turned around, and with a bang, she lay down on top of it. Wu Yin, Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Shirori blinked and looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I say, Shirori. Wu Yin stepped forward and laughed. You look exactly like me when I came home yesterday. Two streams of tears flowed down Shiori's cheeks. She stood up from the sofa like a dying flash before her death. She rushed to Wu Yin at the speed of light and grabbed his hands. Wu Yin jumped in fright. I'm sorry, Shido. I shouldn't have said those things to you yesterday. Huh? Wu Yin was stunned by Shiori's actions and didn't react in time. He just let out a questioning sigh to express his thoughts. Now, I finally understand how sad you were in the classroom yesterday. Shirji cried with snot and tears. I didn't understand you at that time. I really deserve to die. Shirori. Wu Yin felt uncomfortable looking at Shiori's strange behavior. He laughed dryly and said, I'm happy you can think like that. But can you be a little more normal? Shiori's expression crumbled as she let go of Wu Yin's hands. She lay back down on the sofa and raised one of her hands while mumbling in a half-dead manner. Give me 5 minutes. No, 10 minutes. Shiori's head drooped, and she fell into a dead silence. Everyone present looked at each other in dismay. Looking at the dead silent Shirji, they tacitly took 2 steps back, formed a circle, turned around, and put their heads together. Why do I feel like it's our fault that the Shirori Guild ended up like this? Wu Yin scratched his cheeks, and he smiled sheepishly as he whispered to the girls. It's not our fault. It's your fault. Kotori pushed a certain wolf into the quagmire of his fault without any hesitation. You knew that Tabichi Origami had strange fetishes. Why didn't you tell Sis? If you told Sis, she wouldn't have gone. Wu Yin choked. He didn't know what to say. Indeed, the reason why Shirori ended up like this is because he wanted to watch the drama unfold. That's why he acted like an ignorant fool and got caught up in this torturous day. Wu Yin didn't want to be outdone by Kotori, so he retorted. Kotori, you're not any better, right? Without that fire of yours, Shirji wouldn't be so exhausted. I'm destroying her body, but you're destroying her spirit. This time, it's Kotori's turn to choke. In fact, seeing Shirori like this, Kotori started to regret. After all, Shirori was different from them. She was just an ordinary person. For them, a fire is just child's play. But for Shirori, a fire is a very scary thing. If it were an ordinary person in a fire scene, with a raging fire above their head, and the only escape route being blocked by the flow of people, they would definitely be frightened to the point that their mental state would shrivel up. As for Shirori, although her mental fortitude was not bad, anyone who was at the scene of fire a moment ago would feel powerless when they returned home. That's why Kotori didn't think it through. All right, stop blaming each other. Kurumi pressed her hands together and smiled at Wu Yin and Kotori. The most important thing now is to get Shirori to focus. You're right. Everyone pondered for a while before Kotori spoke up. Shirdao, why don't you go and cook a table of delicious food for me? I like your cooking very much. With your cooking, I'm sure she'll be more or less energized. Hearing this, the others didn't say anything, but Tin Fragrance's eyes suddenly lit up, and her little head nodded vigorously. That's a good idea. If I'm in a bad mood, Shido can make a table of good food for me. I'll definitely cheer myself up. Wu Yan's mouth twitched. No, as long as you have something to eat, your spirit will be stimulated. What? Toka pouted and said with dissatisfaction. What's so bad about it? No, I can't say that it's bad. After all, from another point of view, it's also a cute point. It's just that the person who wants to conquer, it doesn't have good cooking skills. It'll be very difficult. If he wants to support you. Wu Yin ridiculed her, but the words that came out of his mouth were incomprehensible. At the very least, Toka and Yoshino couldn't understand what Wu Yin meant, except for Kurumi and Kotori. Immediately, Toka and Yoshino quickly gathered around Shirori. Toka said to Shirori in a seductive tone, Shirori, let me tell you, Shido is going to make some delicious dishes for you to eat. Really? Shirori took pity on Wu Yan's cooking. It should be said that most people wouldn't be able to resist Wu Yan's cooking. Shirori is the same. She opened her eyes when she heard Toka's words. Really? Yoshino blinked her big eyes and said softly. Brother Shido said it himself. I see. I'm looking forward to it. Shirori looked at Wu Yan, and her face looked better. She also cheered up a bit. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Toka narrowed her eyes and made an intoxicated expression. She looked like the food was made just for her. Wu Yan, Kotori, and Kurumi exchanged glances when they saw Shirori recovering. They chuckled. Whatever the case, if Shirori can recover a bit, their moods will be lifted a bit. Kotori's red eyes stared at Shirori, who sat up from the sofa. Kotori suddenly said something that made Wu Yan's jaw drop. Fraxinus, it's yours. Wu Yan almost spat out a mouthful of saliva. He turned to Kotori, and he was surprised by Kotori's words. What did you say? Say it again. I said it. Kotori glared at Wu Yan. Fraxinus, it's yours. It's mine. Wu Yan pointed at his nose and asked in disbelief. I thought you were against it? Kotori gulped, then Rin shouted. I'm agreeing now, can't I? Wu Yan opened his mouth and recalled Kotori's words. Could it be that what you just said about Fraxinus has something to do with this? Are you going to put Fraxinus into your gate of Babylon in front of all the Ratatoskr members? Kotori said in a huff and turned around. I've given everyone a day off. Do as you see fit. Wu Yan looked at Kotori, who had her back facing him. He resisted the urge to hug her and whispered, Thank you, Kotori. Chapter 512. High above Heaven Palace City, inside Fraxinus. Today, Fraxinus is experiencing a rare moment of tranquility. Other than the sound of machinery, there's no other sound. There's not a single person inside. It's very quiet. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's a rare occurrence in 100 years. In the past, even when Ratatoskrs members went on vacation, they would take turns to go on vacation. Fraxinus would never be empty. After all, no one could guarantee when the elves would descend upon the world. Therefore, in today's Fraxinus, all the members of Ratatoskr had a collective holiday. This was unprecedented. Therefore, when Kotori announced the day off in front of everyone, the members of Ratatoskr immediately had the same thought, and that was disbelief. But it's fine if they don't believe it. Kotori's already given the order. Ratatoskr's members can only return home with doubts in their hearts. Kotori's done a lot for Wu Yan. She hid it from everyone in Ratatoskr and gave Fraxinus to Wu Yan. How can this be a small matter? In the quiet Fraxinus, the teleportation device flashed with an illusory light. It's a sign that someone was teleported here. The person who arrived here is naturally Wu Yan. The light faded and Wu Yan's figure appeared. His closed eyes slowly opened, revealing a pair of wine-red pupils. He scanned the space in front of him. Wu Yan sensed the quiet atmosphere. Wu Yan couldn't help but smile. Looks like there really isn't a single person left in Fraxinus. Exiting the teleportation device, Wu Yan slowly made his way toward the command room. Along the way, he could hear the faint sounds of machinery running. It made his hair stand on end as the sound reverberated through the silent corridor. The atmosphere of the airship is different from before. At this moment, Wu Yan has a strange feeling. It's like stepping into a haunted house. It's creepy. When they arrived at the command room, this feeling was more or less dispelled. At this time, the big screen in the command room was still bright, and the surrounding facilities were still in operation, supporting the normal operation of the airship. It's just that those familiar figures, one by one, were no longer there. Wu Yan raised his head and sighed. Once he transforms this place into a noble artifact, This airship will no longer be a simple base. If the members of Ratatoskr knew that Coterie gave them a day off to give Fraxinus to someone else, they'd probably tear Coterie's face apart. After he transforms Fraxinus into a noble artifact, Fraxinus will be completely under his control. Without his permission, no one will be able to use it. However, Coterie still chose to give it to him. This gift is too big, and it's sentimental. Commander Coterie's identity might be challenged. If he doesn't let the members of Ratatoskr use Fraxinus, Coterie will become Ratatoskr's sinner. Wu Yin hid everything Coterie did for him deep in his heart. He knew she did it for him. Don't worry, Coterie. You're my cute little sister. Since you've taken care of me, I won't bring you any trouble. After muttering, Wu Yin calmed himself down and looked to the command room. Wu Yin's wine-red eyes narrowed, and he tensed up his body. He jumped onto the command deck, and he raised one of his hands high up in the air. The next moment, on the back of Wu Yan's raised hand, a dazzling light swirled around like a whirlpool. Under the illumination of the dazzling light, a sword mark made of red dots slowly appeared on the back of his hand. Let's begin. Taking a deep breath, Wu Yin waved his hand that had a sword mark on the back of his hand, and he pressed it on the command platform in front of him. The moment his hand came into contact with the command platform, the circular sword mark on the back of his hand seemed to tremble slightly. Then, a strange power surged from it and flowed into the command platform. The command platform let out a soft hum when it received this power. Suddenly, the airship trembled violently and let out a series of screeches. Like a bird that knows it's about to fall into someone's hand, it started to cry and struggle. For a moment, Fraxinus seemed to have come alive. However, after 2 to 3 seconds, Fraxinus stopped shaking and returned to its deathly silence. The chirping also disappeared as if nothing happened. Of course, that's just on the surface. Wu Yan's hand that was in contact with the command room flashed and illuminated the entire command room. At the same time, countless red veins crawled out from his hand and wrapped around the command room. The red veins spread from the command room and crawled towards the floor. The steel floor is now covered in red veins. It looks extremely strange. Unfortunately, the red veins didn't seem satisfied with just occupying the floor. Soon, they started to crawl towards the walls in all directions. In just a moment, the entire command room is covered in red veins. Even the operating facilities and the very eye-catching big screen are covered in red veins. If someone were to enter the command room, they would definitely feel like they've entered an organ in a person's body. That's because these red veins are like blood vessels, moving up and down. Under Wu Yan's gaze, after the red veins took over the command room, they started to flow towards the outside of the command room. At a speed visible to the naked eye, they took over the surrounding area and continued to spread towards the rest of Fraxinus. After an unknown amount of time, Wu Yin, who was standing on the command room with one hand on the command room, raised his head and a smile appeared on his face. Wu Yin can sense that the red veins have already covered the entire Fraxinus. At this time, Wu Yan's mood was a little excited. His last mission in this world is about to be completed. That's not the most important thing. Once this mission is completed, he will be able to advance by a rank and become a true rank 8 powerhouse. When he was rank 7, he was able to challenge those of a higher rank. He was able to tie with Jaffer, who was at the beginning of the rank 8. He even fought with Kurumi, who was at the middle of the rank 8. Once he reaches the rank 8, his strength will definitely increase by leaps and bounds. The difference between ranks and ranks is completely incomparable. Otherwise, the students wouldn't have been so shocked when Wu Yin succeeded in challenging those of a higher rank. Plus, his gate of Babylon and Shana of the Nipponese temple had successfully upgraded to the gold armament level. How strong was he now? Wu Yin is looking forward to it. With this thought in mind, Wu Yin exerted more force on his hand. The red veins that covered Fraxinus responded to his command, and they disappeared into the interior of Fraxinus. Chapter 5:13. Ding! Fraxinus has been successfully transformed into a noble relic. Wu Yin heard the system notification when the red veins were absorbed into Fraxinus. It told Wu Yin that he had successfully transformed the airship into a noble relic. However, the next notification surprised Wu Yan. Ding! Obtained a B-grade equipment, Fraxinus. A B-grade equipment? A gold armament? Wu Yan was stunned. He quickly retracted his hand from the command center. His wine-red eyes looked at the command center in front of him. His expression was full of surprise. What's going on? Shouldn't it be a D-grade equipment after transforming into a noble relic? Wu Yan mumbled in shock. The system thought that Wu Yan is asking it a question, and thus, the mechanical voice rang in the depths of Wu Yan's mind again. Fraxinus' basic abilities are too high. After transforming into a noble relic, its abilities have been greatly enhanced. Its power is far beyond that of a D-grade equipment. The system has adjusted the grade of the equipment according to its power after transforming into a noble relic. The most suitable grade for the equipment is B-grade. Before Fraxinus was turned into a relic, it was considered a fortress. Not only were there all kinds of advanced facilities with strange abilities, such as teleportation devices and invisibility systems, but there were also some of the most advanced weapons in the world. Fraxinus was the headquarters of Ratatoskr. It was impossible for such an important place to not have a weapon system. Although Ratatoskr's main goal was to save the elves, it was still necessary to have a weapon system. Otherwise, how could they compete with the powerful AST? Besides, Ratatoskr was not only an organization against the elves, but it was also a military enterprise similar to Deus Ex Machina. It was a military enterprise that provided military equipment to soldiers and police all over the world. It was only natural for them to have advanced equipment in their headquarters. Now, the powerful airship equipment was transformed into a noble relic by Wu Yan along with Fraxinus. Of course, Fraxinus would not only be a D-grade equipment. Don't forget that the ability of Knight's Undying Knight not only turned normal weapons into D-grade equipment, it also had another effect. If the equipment was D-grade or above, it would retain its original grade and be under the user's control after transforming it into a noble relic. The equipment of the AST could bestow upon the commoners the strength to fight against the elves. Judging from the equipment of the AST members, the equipment was definitely not just D-grade. Ratatoskr, which was of the same nature as the AST but had a different purpose, would not be inferior to the AST either. That's why the Fraxinus HQ is equipped with a series of weapons of high quality. Plus, it's equipped with a whole fleet of airships. After it's turned into a noble relic, its power has increased by a lot. The system gave Fraxinus a B-grade equipment, a gold armament. In other words, Wu Yan got a battle fortress that is on par with the Gate of Babylon. Oh my god! Wu Yan was speechless. After the initial shock, he was filled with excitement. Is this the real reward of the third dungeon mission? Since when did the system become so black-hearted? It's a good thing the system doesn't have a consciousness of its own. Otherwise, Wu Yan, who said that would probably enjoy the days to come, Wu Yan touched the command deck in front of him. He could feel that after Fraxinus was transformed into a noble relic, there's an inexplicable connection between him and the airship. The connection is very strong. It seems like Fraxinus will respond to him with just a thought. Closing his eyes, all the information about Fraxinus surged into his mind, and he slowly digested it. After he digested all the information, he finally understood why the system rated Fraxinus as a B-tier equipment. In a real battle, a large fortress like this might not be useful at all. However, if it is used in a war, Fraxinus alone can definitely destroy Academy City in the world of magic. Of course, this doesn't take into account Alistair and Iwa's personal strength into account. What a pleasant surprise, Coterie. Wu Yan shook his head with a smile. His gratitude towards Coterie grew even stronger. He resisted the urge to go back and kiss Coterie like a wolf. Wu Yan jumped off the command deck and walked outside. Now, this is the real show. Outside of Fraxinus, in the sky where no one can see him, a figure suddenly appeared. He floated in front of the invisible Fraxinus and stood there as if he was standing on flat ground. Wu Yan could vaguely see a layer of rainbow light around the invisible Fraxinus. Wu Yin can see it because he is the owner of Fraxinus. He raised his hand and pointed at Fraxinus. In an instant, a crimson ripple appeared at the tip of his finger and spread out in all directions. The crimson ripple is like a red lotus blooming in the sky. It spread across a flat area and got bigger and bigger until it was the same size as Fraxinus. The ripple stopped expanding and stopped there. Wu Yin raised his other hand and waved it at Fraxinus. Fraxinus floated into the crimson ripples like a boulder thrown into a lake. The gate of Babylon shuddered violently, and the ripples around it were extinguished by Wu Yan's action. In the end, Fraxinus safely entered the gate of Babylon and was put away by Wu Yan. Wu Yan's final mission in this world is complete. Ding! Mission 3 completed. World Date Battle. Mission Collect. Mission 1. Materialize all the spatial quakes around the world and collect them. Current progress. 10 completed. Reward. 50,000 equipment points, item points, ability points, summoning points. Mission 2. Use the sealing ring to seal the elven powers of storyline characters Toka, Yoshino, Tokisaki Kurumi, and Itsuka Kotori. Completed. Mission Reward. Any 2 pieces of equipment below Grade B will be upgraded by 1 level, excluding Grade B and Gate of Babylon. Mission 3. Use the ability of the Knight Never Died by Bare Hands to turn Ladataskar's airship Fraxinus into a relic and store it in the Gate of Babylon. Completed. Reward. Level up by 1. Ding. Mission 3 reward released. Level up by 1. Ding. Congratulations to the user for leveling up. Current level, 70. Character, Wu Yin abilities, True Ancestor Bloodline, Endless Martial Training, Knight Never Died by Bare Hands, Electromancer, LV5. Equipment, Gate of Babylon, B-Grade Summons, Misaka Mikoto, Katsura Hinajuku, Ikaros, Astria, Flandra, Scarlet, Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sai, Frenda, Takitsubu Riku, Misaka's sister, 20,000 equipment points, 170000 item points, 0 ability points, 170000 summoning points, 230000 level, 70. The moment the system beep rang, Wu Yan's body started acting strange. Chapter 514. Wu Yan, who was standing in the air, suddenly trembled. A surge of pressure burst out from Wu Yan's body, blowing away the surrounding atmosphere. The sudden force caused the surrounding atmosphere to gather into a shock wave. After a muffled sound, the shock wave spread in all directions. At the same time, the sound of bones breaking came from Wu Yan's body. It was unusually loud in the air, where there was only the sound of the wind. The sound grew louder and louder. Towards the end, there was even a bang-bang sound similar to that of a drum. Under the echo of this sound, Wu Yan's body trembled even more violently. What's going on? Wu Yan felt the abnormality in his body in horror. His wine-red eyes were full of panic. I've never heard of such a change after advancing to rank 8. Shouldn't I be like Mikoto when I advanced to rank 8 and be covered in lightning? Not long after this thought came to his mind, Wu Yan felt a strange itch coming from inside his body. Wu Yan's thoughts were drowned out. The unbearable itch made Wu Yan hug his body and squat down in the air. His eyes were slightly protruding and a vein was popping out on his forehead. It could be seen that this itch was absolutely incomparable to the usual itch. What is going on? Wu Yan gritted his teeth and clenched his hands into fists. He was desperately trying to endure this itch. A strange red color had already appeared on his skin. However, Wu Yan didn't know all this. His mind was already occupied by the itch. Inside his body, where Wu Yan couldn't see, the blood that was originally flowing orderly in his blood vessels suddenly accelerated and flowed rapidly. If the normal blood flow was the speed of an ant, then the current blood flow was the speed of a faucet running at full speed. The blood surged wildly in all parts of his blood vessels. The rapid blood flow caused the blood vessels to swell. They couldn't bear the burden and let out a whine. However, the blood didn't seem to be affected. It continued to flow through Wu Yan's body at an extremely fast speed. In a short while, all the blood vessels on Wu Yan's body had appeared from under his skin. His entire body was covered with bulging blood vessels. Even the tissues on his face were the same. At this time, Wu Yan's entire body was incomparably ferocious. Especially his expression, it was almost comparable to a hairless lichen. Under such circumstances, the blood in Wu Yan's body flowed even faster. The itch feeling also became more and more intense. Wu Yan's fists clenched and unclenched. He couldn't bear this feeling anymore. Wu Yan suddenly stood up and raised his head. Roar! A roar like that of a beast on the verge of death rang out from Wu Yan's mouth and spread to the surroundings. Following this roar, the surrounding space actually rippled. With Wu Yan's raised mouth as the center, it reverberated like a ripple. Wu Yan didn't notice that when he couldn't help but roar out, the rapidly flowing blood in his body also rippled. The ripple also spread throughout Wu Yan's body. After a while, it was all absorbed by the organs and tissues in his body. The bright red color on his skin began to recede. His blood vessels gradually calmed down. Inside his body, the rapidly flowing blood also slowly returned to its original speed. Everything returned to its original state. It was as if nothing had happened at all. However, the system's prompt immediately told its owner that everything that had happened just now was not an illusion. Ding! User's level meets the bloodline requirement of true ancestor bloodline. True ancestor bloodline awakened. Ding! Bloodline ability Red Jade obtained. The system notification reverberated in his mind like an echo. Wu Yan, who just regained his consciousness from the itch, got knocked out of his mind. True ancestor bloodline awakened? Bloodline ability? Wu Yan shook his head in a daze. What entered his sight is the endless blue sky. His eyes that had turned golden at some point in time turned back to a wine-red color. The wine-red color is even deeper than before, but the expression in his eyes is one of confusion. What's going on? Wu Yan said this for the third time. He didn't know what to do with this sudden development. As if seeing Wu Yan's confusion, the system answered. Because the user's previous level could not fully accommodate all the mysteries of the true ancestor bloodline. The true ancestor bloodline automatically hides within the user's body, so the user can only use the true ancestor bloodline's immortal body ability. Only when a user's level meets the bloodline requirement of the true ancestor bloodline will the true ancestor bloodline be able to unleash its true ability and awaken. Hearing the system's monotonous voice, Wu Yan gradually calmed down. In other words, the current me truly has the ability to become a true ancestor? Yes. The system answered Wu Yan very simply. In a way, it was telling Wu Yan that he was too weak in the past and couldn't even unleash the full potential of his bloodline. However, Wu Yan wasn't upset at all. Instead, he smiled. This meant that the current him finally had the qualifications to become a true ancestor. Moreover, the awakening of the bloodline had brought him many benefits. Wu Yan himself felt that his physical strength had increased by at least 3 or 4 times. His body's recovery ability had also increased by a lot. This didn't even include the part of the increase from the advancement. It was all because of the bloodline. Also, that bloodline ability, Red Jade, exclusive ability of the true ancestor bloodline, cannot be exchanged. Turn the blood of a living creature into a piece of Red Jade and fuse it into the user's body. When a user activates the Red Jade in a user's body for a certain period of time, the user will obtain the same ability as the Blood Master that formed the Red Jade, including the level. Even if the Blood Master's ability and level increase, the Red Jade in the user's body will also grow and obtain the same ability as the Blood Master that formed the Red Jade. The greater the difference in ability between the Blood Master and the user, the shorter the activation period of the Red Jade will be. Conversely, the longer the activation period of the Red Jade will be. After activation, the Red Jade will not be activated again within 24 hours. Note, the user can fuse up to 3 pieces of Red Jade. The Red Jade can be discarded. It can't be. Staring at the bloodline ability in the system list, Wu Yan's mouth gradually opened and his mind went blank. There was only one thought left in his mind, that is, this is awesome. The ability to obtain the full strength of the Blood Master? If this is Flandrachon's blood. Wu Yin swallowed his saliva and his heart started to pound. However, Wu Yin didn't notice it at all. His wine-red eyes were still staring at the description of the red jade, afraid that he was mistaken. Am I dreaming? Wu Yin pinched himself stupidly. When the pain entered his senses, Wu Yin knew that all of this was real. I'm going to defy the heavens. Wu Yin's face, which had gained a lot of charm due to the awakening of the bloodline, became extremely distorted and destroyed the charm completely. He was so excited that his whole body trembled. It's impossible not to be excited. Obtaining the full strength of the Blood Master that made up the Red Jade. What does this mean? It means that when Wu Yin returns to the Spalier world and obtains a drop of blood from Flandrachon's body and transforms it into the Red Jade, after activating the Red Jade, Wu Yin will have the same level and ability as Flandrachon. In other words, when the Red Jade is activated, Wu Yin will become a Tier 9 powerhouse. Moreover, he was a powerhouse of the 9th stage who could use the ability. Chapter 5:15. In the sky, Wu Yin is slowly flying towards Wu He's house. His face is still in a daze, which means he still hasn't recovered from the shock of his heaven-defying bloodline ability. After all, the Red Jade is just too amazing. As long as you get a drop of blood, you can copy the strength of the owner of the blood. This ability is not only heaven-defying, it's also cheating. Think about it. If an opponent is several times stronger than you and can kill you in the blink of an eye, you'll suddenly have the same ability and rank as your opponent. How depressing would that be? And if, in such a situation, a character that could be easily squashed to death suddenly became stronger than him and became an existence that could squash him to death, then it would be even more depressing, to the extent that he would vomit blood. Not only that, the Red Jade's ability can also be upgraded according to the strength of the owner of the blood. In other words, as long as you get a drop of blood and turn it into a Red Jade, even if that person is only a rank 1, you'll be able to obtain the strength of a Celestial when that person becomes a Celestial. Perhaps that's why the Red Jade's ability has a time limit. The Red Jade's ability is powerful, but the greater the difference in strength between the owner and yourself, the shorter the duration of the ability. It's normal for there to be a time limit. Otherwise, Wu Yin wouldn't need to level up. He could just sit at home and wait for a fight to break out. He could just drive Flandrachon's Red Jade and crush everyone to death. If only the Red Jade's ability doesn't have a time limit. That's someone's whimsical and greedy thoughts. Wu Yin bitterly smiled and shook his head. The Red Jade's ability is already heaven-defying. I should be content with getting such a heaven-defying ability. It's better not to think about such unrealistic things. Wu Yin lowered his head and looked at the buildings that were moving behind him as he flew. He mused for a bit. Since it's the state after activating Red Jade, I'll call it Red Jade mode when I activate Red Jade. Seemingly satisfied with the name he came up with, Wu Yin nodded and chuckled. His body tensed up a bit, and he quickly flew towards Wu He's house. At this time, the sky had already darkened, falling into the night. In the buildings of Heavenly Palace City, lights were constantly coming out. Looking down from the sky, the entire Heavenly Palace City was colorful. Under the rendering of the night, it looked very quiet and serene. When Wu Yin left Wu He's house and went to Fraxinus, it's still early, but it's almost dusk. By the time Wu Yin finished everything, the sky hasn't turned yellow yet. Now that it's completely dark, Wu Yin can't help but sigh. Autumn's night comes so quickly. Not long after, Wu Yin's house appeared in front of him. Wu Yin stopped and floated in the air. Looking down at the building, Wu Yin's expression changed. He's hesitating, wondering if he should go and say goodbye to everyone. Now, his main goal in this world, which was to obtain the item to unlock the mysterious crystal, had been achieved. Moreover, he had also unexpectedly obtained other rewards. The level of his equipment had all increased to gold rank, and he had even obtained a gold rank airship. His level had also increased to a whole new level, and even his bloodline had been awakened. It could be said that the current him, compared to the him from an hour ago, could not be compared at all. With such great rewards, this trip to this world was worth it. Now that he's achieved his goal, It's time to leave. To be honest, Wu Yin is a bit reluctant to leave this world. In this world, his rewards aren't just in terms of strength. He's also unknowingly built a lot of bonds. Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, Yoshino, and Shirori. These 5 girls are living under the same roof as him. Wu Yin has deep feelings for them, especially for Kotori, Kurumi, and Toka. It's already at the level of love. Wu Yin is reluctant to leave this world. He's reluctant to leave Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, Yoshino, and Shirori. These 2 are like little sisters to him. Although he can summon Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino when he returns to the Spalier world, he has limited summoning points. At most, he can only summon 2 of them. Who should he choose? In the end, he's going to have to worry about it alone. As for Shirori, forget about it. Based on his understanding of Shirori, she won't like living in another world. It's better for her to stay in this world. Since he was going to leave, he didn't know if he should summon them in a short period of time. In that case, he might as well not disturb them and just leave. After all, after he left this world, the time of this world would also freeze. The next time he came back would also be at this time. Why should he stir up the sadness of parting? That's what he thinks, but Wu Yin can't make up his mind. After a while, Wu Yin sighed and looked down. Kurumi, Toka, and the others are fine, but Kotori already knows about me. It's not good to just leave like this. I'll just go say goodbye to Kotori. After making up his mind, Wu Yin felt a lot more relaxed. He spun in the air and flew towards Kotori's window. When Wu Yin arrived outside Kotori's window, he took a closer look. Kotori is sitting on her bed in her room. She's looking forward, but her eyes are out of focus. Her body is curled up into a ball. She's hugging her chest and staring forward without blinking. She seems to be thinking about something. Wu Yin felt a pang in his heart when he saw Kotori like this. Whether it was the cheerful and naive Kotori in sister mode or the cold and vicious Kotori in commander mode, Wu Yin has never seen Kotori in such a state. Wu Yin couldn't help but feel sad when he saw her like this. Affected by this, Wu Yin didn't enter Kotori's room. Instead, he floated outside Kotori's window and quietly looked at her. After a long time, at a certain moment, Kotori finally moved. She let go of her hands and lay down on her bed. She looked at the ceiling and muttered softly, "I wonder if Oni-chan left or came back." How could Wu Yin not know that Kotori's reaction was all because of him? An indescribable feeling welled up in his heart. Wu Yin couldn't help but open the window in front of him, and he flew in. Oni-chan. Kotori turned around instinctively when she heard her window open. When she saw the figure that floated in through the window, Kotori was stunned. Then she cried out in joy. However, the joy froze on her face in the next moment. Wu Yin floated in through the window. Without saying a word, he flashed in front of Kotori and held her down. Then he lowered his head and kissed her on the lips. Ugh! Kotori widened her eyes in disbelief. Chapter 516. Kotori was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded, looking at the familiar face that was right in front of her, pressing down on her body and kissing her lips. Her pair of red eyes had already widened to the maximum, filled with a thick sense of disbelief. Kotori didn't expect him to suddenly appear when she missed him. She also didn't expect him to treat her like this as soon as he appeared and before she could even say a word. Kotori couldn't react in time and just stared blankly at Wu Yin, who was teasing her lips. It wasn't until a soft tongue pierced her teeth and entered her mouth, capturing her tongue and wrapping it around it, that Kotori finally realized what was going on. Wu. Kotori's cheeks flushed red when she felt her tongue being entangled. She clenched her fists and pounded on Wu Yan's chest. She whimpered and complained about Wu Yan's tyrannical behavior with monotonous words. Kotori twisted her head left and right in an attempt to break free from Wu Yan's control. Unfortunately, Wu Yan seemed to be able to read her mind. Kotori's head moved to the left. Wu Yan's head also moved to the left. When Kotori's head moved to the right, Wu Yan's head also moved to the right. His lips were tightly pressed against Kotori's. Gradually, the sounds of their tongues intertwining entered Kotori's mind. She slowed down her swinging movements, and her fists that were pounding Wu Yan's chest became weaker and weaker. In the end, Coterie stopped all her movements. Her eyes were glistening with tears. The weakening and disappearance of Coterie's resistance only served to further fuel a certain someone's arrogance. He lowered his head, and their lips, which were already stuck together, became even more glued to each other. Their tongues ran wild as they played with Coterie's soft tongue here and there. Having the time of their lives, as Wu Yan's actions intensified, the tears in Coterie's eyes became more intense. Her cheeks became redder and redder. Her body became weak, and she could only place her hands on Wu Yan's chest. She helplessly accepted Wu Yan's invasion and occupation of her lips. After an unknown amount of time, Coterie found it difficult to breathe. When she was about to suffocate, Wu Yan finally moved away from her lips. However, he didn't get up from her body. The two faces, one big and one small, were panting slightly while the other was panting heavily. Their red and wine-red pupils were looking at each other. Their eyes were flickering with a strange emotion. The two of them looked at each other, and time seemed to have stopped at this moment. When Coterie's breathing calmed down, she realized she was bullied by Wu Yan again. She couldn't help but get angry. "What are you doing? You came back in. You're not allowed to object." Wu Yan domineeringly interrupted Coterie. His body pressed down heavily on Coterie's body. Coterie's complaint turned into a muffled groan. "Today is the only day you're not allowed to be arrogant." Who's being arrogant?" Coterie shouted in exasperation. However, she quickly reacted. "Today is the only day? Why do you say today is the only day? Is there something special today?" Coterie ignored the fact that Wu Yan is on top of her. She met Wu Yan's gaze. When she heard Wu Yan's words, Coterie had a guess. Because of this, Coterie's heart sank to the bottom. She had a bad premonition. Wu Yan shook his head and smiled helplessly. "Haven't you already guessed it?" This indirect admission made Coterie's expression change. She bit her lips. You're leaving? Don't make such an expression, okay?" Wu Yan bitterly smiled when he saw Coterie's reluctant and sad expression. "I should be the one feeling reluctant. Once Wu Yan leaves this world, the world will enter a state of frozen time. Everything will come to a halt until Wu Yan returns to this world. Only then will the world's time restart. Therefore, no matter how long he spends in the Spalier world or other dungeons, it will only take an instant for Coterie to see him again. Even if Wu Yan summons Coterie in another world, it will still be the same. The one who should feel reluctant is indeed Wu Yan. Coterie's longing can only last for an instant, but Wu Yan has to wait until he returns to this world or summons Coterie. Coterie learned a lot about Wu Yan from Wu Yan that night. She knows that it will only take an instant for her to see Wu Yan again. Her expression improved a lot. However, Wu Yan's face is only 10 centimeters away from Coterie's. He can see that she still feels reluctant. Wu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Didn't I say it will only be an instant? What? You still feel reluctant? It's none of your business." Coterie turned her head away, blushing a little. "I'm not reluctant. Is that so?" Wu Yan giggled as he leaned forward a bit. "Didn't I tell you? You're not allowed to be arrogant." Coterie glared at Wu Yan. She's obviously unhappy with Wu Yan's use of the word arrogant. However, when she remembered that Wu Yan is about to leave, she opened her mouth but didn't say anything. Coterie shifted her gaze away when she saw Wu Yan's huge face at such a close distance. She twisted her body a little. Get up. Get up." Wu Yan blinked and replied without hesitation. "No way." Coterie was furious. She glared at Wu Yan and started twisting her body. "Get up." "No." Wu Yan didn't get up. Instead, he pressed his body down. Every part of Coterie's soft body was pressed against his. It was a wonderful feeling. Coterie kept twisting her body, making it even more wonderful. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and said carelessly, "You're going to marry Oni Ai-chan anyway. How dare you bring that up?" Coterie exploded. Maybe it's because Wu Yan's words reminded her of what happened that night in the bathroom and ripples in the hot spring. Her face turned bright red, and she looked incredibly adorable. Coterie's cute and embarrassed expression touched the softest part of his heart. He licked his lips, and he moved his head closer to Coterie's lips. Coterie stopped struggling, and a trace of panic appeared in her eyes. She watched as the face grew larger and larger in her sight. Coterie's heartbeat sped up. Her lips were about to be occupied by the man in front of her. She closed her eyes as if she had resigned herself to her fate. As expected, it was soft and beautiful. Coterie couldn't help but whimper when she felt the other party's tongue pushing against her teeth, and a nervous expression appeared on her face. Including the previous kiss, Wu Yin and Coterie have kissed less than 5 times. In the past, Wu Yin was the one who stole the kiss before Coterie could react. This is the first time Wu Yin kissed Coterie so much that she was mentally prepared for it. In a sense, this is Coterie's first kiss. How could she not be nervous? The familiar sensation of their tongues intertwining with each other assaulted Coterie's mind. Coterie let Wu Yin tease her tongue. She fell into his gentleness, and she couldn't extricate herself from it. Chapter 517. Spalier World Academy, Villa District. Inside a villa that's a lot bigger and more luxurious than the other villas, a beautiful girl with long pink hair is sitting in front of a table in the living room. Her yellow-green eyes stared straight ahead as she sighed softly. The originally lively villa is now so quiet that not even the slightest noise can be heard from outside the villa. Due to the sound insulation, the whole villa is eerily quiet. It's so quiet that Chuju can't get used to it. Chuju sighed again as if she's thinking of something. She leaned on the table in annoyance and mumbled softly under her head. I wonder how they're doing. Beside Chuju is Flandre-chan. She's wearing a beret hat with a ponytail tied into a ponytail. She's also wearing the same white uniform as Flandre-chan. She's scratching the edge of the cake that she just finished. She's clearly depressed. Chuju, Jejia, when is Oni-chan coming back? Flandre-chan misses him. Flandre-chan's heart is filled with regret. Why didn't she leave with Wu Yin in the morning and go to that dungeon world? Now she's stuck in this boring villa with nothing to do. Well, it can't be helped. Flandre-chan didn't go with Wu Yin because she promised to hang out with Liren. Who would have thought that due to the Academy's security incident, Flandre-chan's status as a new student would change and she'd become the most popular person in the Academy? Flandre-chan can't go out to avoid attracting unnecessary attention. It's also because of this that Liren couldn't come here to find Flandre-chan. That's how things ended up like this. Ikaros and Makoto's departure also made the villa a lot colder. Even Chuju can't stand it anymore, let alone the lively Flandre-chan. However, Flandre-chan's question to Chuju was obviously directed at the wrong person. How would I know? Chuju said gloomily. If possible, I want him to come back as soon as possible. Then we can go find Makoto and the others. Ugh, Flandre-chan said dejectedly. Flandre-chan regrets not being with Oni-chan this morning. Hinagiku smiled bitterly, but she could more or less understand Flandre-chan's feelings. After all, isn't she starting to miss that hateful bastard as well? Flandre-chan pursed her lips and laid on the table. Oni-chan, come back soon. Perhaps the heavens heard Flandre-chan's voice and decided to grant her wish. The moment Flandre-chan's voice fell, a figure appeared in the villa's living room without any warning. He floated half a foot above the ground before landing his feet on the ground. HM, why is it so quiet? A surprised voice echoed throughout the quiet villa, clearly reaching the ears of Inagiku and Flandre-chan who were lying on the table. When they heard that dreamy voice, the two of them shuddered. Their faces that were buried under the table revealed a surprised smile, and they looked up abruptly. The one who appeared out of nowhere is naturally Wu Yin, who just returned from the date battle world. Yin, Hinagiku stood up with a swoosh, her face full of joy as she called out. Her voice was trembling for a moment, but no one noticed it. Oni-chan. Flandre-chan stood on her chair, and she cheered. She flapped her crystal-like wings, and she floated up into the air. She landed on the table in front of her, and she pounced at Wu Yin with great enthusiasm. Flandre-chan's welcome was as bold as ever. As usual, it gave Wu Yin a scare. He quickly ran forward and pulled Flandre-chan into his arms. He sighed in relief and scolded her. Flandre-chan, why are you so reckless? What if I didn't catch you and you fell to the ground? Flan isn't scared, Flanderchan said proudly. She buried her head in Wu Yan's chest and rubbed it against his chest. Only I-chan will catch me. What if you don't catch me? Wu Yan shook his head and laughed. He didn't blame Flanderchan this time. No matter what, Flanderchan's actions are a sign of intimacy. Flan isn't scared. A big cute smile appeared on Fran's face. She waved the broken wings on her back with crystals hanging on them. Flan has wings. I won't fall. Oh, you. Wu Yan pinched Flanderchan's nose and laughed. He tightened his embrace and looked at Chuju. Chuju, since Flanderchan gave me such a warm welcome, shouldn't you give me a warm hug as well? In your dreams. Chuju rolled her eyes at Wu Yan. She suppressed the emotions she felt when she saw Wu Yan. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on Wu Yan. Hinajika noticed something strange. Looking at the giggling Wu Yan in front of her, she felt something different about Wu Yan compared to before. She was surprised. Why do I feel like you've changed a little? Chuju looked at Wu Yan. She couldn't find anything different about Wu Yan. However, she noticed something different about Wu Yan. She was surprised and happy. Yan, you broke through? Oh, you noticed? Wu Yan nodded. I gain a lot this time. That's great. Hinajika clenched her fist and shouted excitedly. You've reached level 70. This time, your strength will definitely increase by leaps and bounds. You'll be of great help to Makoto and the others. Wu Yan couldn't help but frown as he woke up from his stupor. All right, where's Makoto? Ikaros. What happened? Did they go out? Yeah, they went out. Chuju shook her head and sighed. And they didn't go far. What do you mean? Wu Yan's smile slowly faded as he looked at Hinajiku with a serious expression. His instincts are telling him that something is going on. Chuju walked up to Wu Yan. Something big happened while you were gone. Something big. Wu Yan's heart tightened. He calmed down and asked, what happened? Chuju pondered for a moment. She chose her words carefully. Today, not long after you left, one of the Misaka sisters suddenly came here. Wu Yan's heart tightened as he listened to Chuju's explanation. His expression changed slightly. After Chuju finished, Wu Yan returned to normal. So you're saying that Makoto and the others are at the Behemoth Forest? Chuju nodded. I was left here to wait for you. Shokaho said that if you don't find anyone when you come back, you'll go crazy. Chuju looked into Wu Yan's eyes. Yan, since you're back, let's go meet up with Makoto and the others. Okay. Wu Yan nodded. He brought Chuju out of the villa. Chuju let out a cry of surprise. He picked her up and flew into the sky. I didn't think I'd need your help so soon. Wu Yan chuckled. Chuju and Flanderchan didn't know what he was talking about. But when they continued to look, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. In midair, a huge crimson spatial ripple suddenly fluctuated and swayed behind the three of them. The next moment, a huge airship flew out with a rumbling sound and arrived in front of them. Fraxinus. It's here. Chapter 518. There were no clouds in the distant sky. Sunlight shone on the ground, but there was no trace of the sun. The sunlight, that should have been full of warmth, seemed to have lost its warmth. It looked a little listless. Azure blue became the only color in the sky. At a certain moment, a soft sound of something breaking through the air rang out in the silent sky. It pierced through the vast sky and rushed into the distance. If one were to observe carefully, one would discover that wherever the sound of something breaking through the air passed by, all the wind and waves would be blown to the sides, as if something had forcefully pushed them apart. The reason for this situation was because there was a giant airship that was invisible to the naked eye. It was flying through the sky at a speed faster than the airship itself. Inside the invisible airship, which is the command room of Fraxinus, the ship's ship, wow, so fast, so cool, so handsome. Flanderchan's excited cheers resounded throughout the command room. She ran around the various facilities in the command room, touching and looking at them from time to time. Her face was filled with curiosity and excitement. Wu Yan is sitting on the command deck with his eyes closed. He looks like he's asleep, but in his mind, he's giving orders to Fraxinus. They're heading towards the Behemoth Forest in an orderly manner. This is one of the benefits of using Fraxinus as a noble phantasm. He doesn't have to do anything himself. He only has to do it in his mind. Chuju stood on the side of the command platform and looked at the corner of the sky that was moving backward on the big screen. She then looked at Wu Yin, who was sitting on the command platform, and spoke in a strange tone. "Where did you steal this from?" Wu Yin, who was controlling Fraxinus to fly towards the behemoth forest, almost trembled and let Fraxinus crash into the ground. Wu Yin opened his eyes and rolled his eyes at Chuju. "Why are you talking about stealing? If this isn't stolen, could it be snatched?" Chuju curled her lips and said, "Could it be given by someone else?" Wu Yin bitterly laughed as he rubbed his chest. His voice was so soft that it was almost undetectable. "Yeah, someone gave it to me, someone very important, in a place that no one could see, hidden under Wu Yan's clothes on his chest. There was something that hadn't been there before. 2 red Magatama seals. The 2 red Magatama marks were the result of Wu Yan's true ancestor bloodline ability, Red Jade. Before leaving the date battle world, Wu Yin asked for a drop of blood from Kotori and Kurumi. He used his bloodline ability to turn it into 2 pieces of red jade and fuse them into his body. After all, his red jade had all the abilities and levels of the blood that made up the red jade. If he didn't make good use of it, wouldn't he be burying this heaven-defying bloodline ability? Kotori's ability is the ability to control fire, and Kurumi's ability is the ability to control time. Both of these abilities are very powerful, especially Kurumi's ability to control time. With these 2 powerful abilities, plus the elven, angel, and spiritual equipment, and Kotori and Kurumi's levels, Wu Yin wouldn't be able to forgive himself if he didn't take them for himself. If it weren't for the fact that most of Ikaros's abilities are based on the equipment, and the fact that the Red Jade can possess all the abilities and levels of the original owner of the blood, but can't copy the equipment, Wu Yin would rather get Ikaros's Red Jade. Thus, he settled for the next best thing and chose the Red Jade of the elves. Even though the Red Jade can't replicate the owner's equipment, the angel and spiritual equipment are an exception. The elves' angel and spiritual equipment are nurtured by their own spiritual energy. Strictly speaking, they're more like equipment abilities than equipment. That's why Wu Yin chose Kotori and Kurumi. With the angel and spiritual equipment, the elf can unleash 100% of their abilities. Without the angel and spiritual equipment, the elves' abilities will drop until they can't even unleash 1/10 of their full power. Wu Yin originally wanted to extract Toka's blood. In terms of abilities, Toka's melee combat abilities are no match for Kotori and Kurumi, who can manipulate fire and time. He might not even be a match for Yoshino, who can manipulate ice. However, in terms of combat power, Toka might be the strongest among the elves. Other than Kotori, no one else in the group can match Toka's combat power. Unfortunately, he can only have 3 red jades at most. After getting Kotori and Kurumi's red jades, he had no choice but to give up on Toka's red jades. Wu Yin had already made up his mind about the 3rd red jade. Flander-chan, come here for a second. Flander-chan, who was running all over the place, heard Wu Yin calling for her. She gave up on exploring the area and ran towards Wu Yin without hesitation. "Oni-chan, what's wrong? There's something I need your help with." Wu Yin reached out and pulled Flander-chan into his arms. He hesitated for a bit before saying, "It might hurt a little later. Flander-chan isn't afraid of pain. I'm not an older sister." Flander-chan wrinkled her nose and said. Wu Yin raised an eyebrow. He silently mourned for Ramilia, who was raped by Flander-chan without hesitation. Grabbing Flander-chan's hand, under Chuju and Flander-chan's curious gaze, Wu Yin made a small cut on Flander-chan's finger. Before the 2 girls could react, Wu Yin quickly squeezed Flander-chan's finger and squeezed out a small drop of blood from the cut. He transferred it to his hand, and the cut on Flander-chan's finger disappeared the moment the blood was squeezed out. Even if her power is sealed, Flander-chan's vampire physique can't be removed. The most basic ability of a vampire is their powerful vitality and regenerative ability. Although it's not as strong as a true ancestor, Flander-chan is no ordinary vampire. Wounds like this can be healed in an instant. Flander-chan looked at her finger and blinked. "It doesn't hurt at all." Chuju looked at the blood in Wu Yan's hand and asked curiously, "What are you doing?" "Yan." Wu Yan smiled and didn't answer Chuju's question. He raised the blood in his hand and clenched his fist. A muffled sound came from Wu Yan's palm. Chuju and Flandrachan could see a flash of blood, but it quickly disappeared. When Wu Yan opened his hand, the blood was gone, and in its place was a small red jade magatama. "What is this?" Chuju and Flandrachan were stunned. They tilted their heads and stared at the red jade magatama. It's as if they can see a flower in it. This is my strongest combat power at the moment." Tightening his grip on a red jade, Wu Yan's mood was a little excited. As long as he can fuse it with his body and activate it, he will have the strength of a rank 9 for a short period of time. How can Wu Yan not be excited? Thus, Wu Yan impatiently tore off his clothes and pressed the red jade on his chest. The 3 red jades lined up neatly on Wu Yan's chest. Rubbing his chest, Wu Yan's heart surged with excitement. Chapter 519. While Fraxinus is flying towards the behemoth forest, something unexpected is happening in the behemoth forest. Outside the behemoth forest, about 100 meters away from the behemoth forest, a sea of people is surrounding the supply town. They are blocking the path between the supply town and the behemoth forest, forming an arc. They're standing in the middle of the road, forming a human wall. In the supply town, some people who are going to the behemoth forest to hunt magical beasts or train themselves would come here from time to time. When they saw the wall of people blocking the path to the behemoth forest, they were all stunned. Some people felt that the giant beast forest was a bit strange today, so they decided to leave. There were also some who wanted to enter the giant beast forest. However, after talking to the people surrounding the giant beast forest, they decided to leave as well. Only a few chose to stay behind, but they didn't enter the giant beast forest. Instead, they joined the people surrounding the forest. This situation continued for a long time. As time passed, more and more people surrounded the supply town. In the end, the people who came out of the supply town couldn't see the behemoth forest anymore. They could only see a black mass of people. On the other hand, the people at the front of the encirclement were not squeezed together like the people at the back. They were clearly divided into several groups and kept a distance away from each other. These people were all equipped with decent equipment and armaments. Compared to the people at the back, they were more like a proper elite organization. These groups were undoubtedly the most eye-catching existences in this sea of people. Among them, there was even a group that the surrounding groups involuntarily shifted their gazes and cast their gazes on them. This group was very special. Their numbers were not inferior to other groups. There were about 10 to 20,000 people, and all of them were young girls. Even their clothes and weapons were the same. However, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that these young girls, even their appearance, were exactly the same. That's right, they look exactly the same. This group was none other than the Misaka sisters. Mikoto, Shokoho Misaki, Ikuros, Astria, Kanuhata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubariku were standing at the front of the Misaka sisters. They were the 7 girls who came to help the sisters. From the looks of it, Mikoto and the rest must have already rescued the sisters from the magical beast forest. Moreover, it seems like they had something else to do, so they stayed here with the sisters. If one were to observe carefully, they would notice that other than the Misaka sisters who had no emotions, the rest of them were more or less nervous. They were all holding weapons in their hands as they stared into the distant behemoth forest, as if they were about to face a great enemy. The frontmost groups are the same. Even the leaders of these groups have a heavy expression on their faces, including Mikoto's group. Something must have happened since Mikoto and the rest left Silverio World Institute. Something else must have happened. They're here. Suddenly, a voice filled with shock echoed in the air. Everyone's nerves were stretched taut. They all looked towards the direction of the giant beast forest. Everyone's heart skipped a beat as they looked towards the direction of the giant beast forest. It didn't take long for the people at the front to see that at the edge of the giant beast forest, a cloud of dust was slowly rolling up. It covered the trees of the giant beast forest. Then, a series of rumbling sounds could be heard. It sounded like the rumbling of a cavalry troop. After the continuous rumbling sound, everyone present felt the ground tremble. Among the crowd, many people instinctively tightened their grip on their weapons and stared at the direction of the smoke and dust, swallowing mouthfuls of saliva. The frequency of the ground shaking increased, and the rumbling of footsteps became louder and louder. The smoke and dust also came closer and closer to the crowd, slowly sweeping over. Finally, in the next moment, the source of the ground shaking appeared in everyone's line of sight. It's a group of demonic beasts. Roar, Illo, woo! As the terrifying magical beast army appeared in front of the crowd, the cries that belonged to the magical beasts also rang out. The magical beast army at the front dashed towards them as they raised their heads and roared towards the sky. Just the chaotic roars of the magical beasts alone had already caused some of the people in the crowd to retreat in fear. They're finally here. Shokuho Misaki stared at the terrifying demonic beast army from the front of the Misaka sisters. Her expression turned serious. These demonic beasts have lost their way of life. In the past, demonic beasts only lived in the behemoth forest. They never left the behemoth forest. Even though demonic beasts have low intelligence, their instincts are much higher than humans. They know that if they leave the behemoth forest, they will be dissected by humans. That's why no demonic beast has ever left the behemoth forest. Due to their low intelligence and the fact that the demonic beasts live in a world where the strong preys on the weak, it's impossible for two demonic beasts to gather together. That's unless they're breeding partners or offspring. But now, not only did the demonic beasts leave the behemoth forest, they even gathered together. They didn't attack each other and stood on the same side. Saying that they've lost their way of life is the most accurate assessment. Shokuho Misaki, I think you should stand at the back. Makoto lowered her head. Lightning flashed across her forehead as she looked at the demonic beast army charging towards them. Makoto had seen the demonic beast army in the Whirlwind Butler's world and the Stone Spider army in the Land of Treasure. She was unusually calm. Your ability isn't suited for direct combat with demonic beasts. Mind control is an ability that uses one's mind and soul. Against this demonic beast army, it's not suitable for her to stand at the front. Shokuho Misaki didn't argue with Makoto. She simply nodded and retreated to the back. Of course, she understood her own situation. She also knew that Makoto wasn't looking down on her, because those who know her well know that she's the most useful person in this place. That's because Shokuho Misaki's opponents are demonic beasts. Shokuho Misaki has the ability to control the mind and soul of the demonic beasts. Small animals like demonic beasts are like little dogs that only know how to bite and wag their tails in front of Shokuho Misaki. If there weren't so many demonic beasts, Shokuho Misaki alone would be more than enough to deal with the demonic beasts. Seeing that Shokuho Misaki retreated, Kinuhata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku also retreated. Then, Kinuhata Sai and Frenda stood in front of Shoko Misaki and Takitsubu Riku to protect the two girls who weren't suited for direct combat. This was the tacit understanding between the four girls after they came to Silveria and became part of the same faction. That's why the Misaka sisters' front line was reduced from 7 to 3. Of course, no one would underestimate these three girls. Makoto waited until Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku retreated to the back and were protected by the Misaka sisters. Ikaros and Astria followed behind her. Beep, beep, beep. Blue and white lightning flashed from Makoto's body and illuminated the entire battlefield. I definitely won't let you charge into the town. A delicate reprimand that was filled with heroic spirit resounded in everyone's ears, causing the blood in everyone's hearts to begin to boil. After all, this was the reason why they had gathered together. Chapter 520. Sky Queen Mode. On Ikaros' body, the gold-lined white uniform slowly faded away, replaced by a white sensual light armor. A pair of pink wings, freed from the binding of her clothes, swelled up, and transformed into a pair of blue wings in an instant. Following that, a pure white halo floated above her fluffy hair. A stream of light flashed past his indigo eyes, and they turned crimson in an instant. Data-like frames were inverted in his crimson eyes, and a magical beast army, galloping over from afar, was reflected in them. At the same time, Astria's uniform faded away and was replaced by a set of blue light armor. A round shield appeared on her left wrist, and a blue, vibrating lightsaber. With the support of a pair of blue and white wings, the two angels flew into the air and floated above Mikoto. Mikoto took 2 steps forward and formed a triangle with Ikaros and Astria. Facing the front, the endless amount of iron sand was stirring behind them. Everyone was stunned when they saw the wings on Ikaros and Astria's back. They stared blankly at the 2 holy angels. Their brains short-circuited for a second. However, they didn't have the time to think about why Ikaros and Astria have wings. Roar! A magical beast that seemed to be of the agile type was the first to charge out of the magical beast army. It came to the front of the encirclement and pounced on a person in front of it. Only then did the person react. He hurriedly waved the weapon in his hand and forced the magical beast back. What welcomed him was another pounce. The battle between the demonic beast and the human was like a drum that signaled the start of the war. Countless demonic beasts finally arrived in front of the crowd and clashed with the front line. Kill! Roar! The human army and the magical beast army roared at the same time, firing the first shot in this battle. Amidst the continuous shouts and roars of the magical beasts, the 2 armies suddenly clashed. Following the start of this battle, countless waves of battle aura and magic started to fluctuate. The radiance of magic and battle techniques started to flicker as they charged towards the magical beast army. Under the powerful attacks of magic and battle techniques, some of the magical beasts started to suffer casualties. On the spot, some of the magic and battle skills were used on very powerful magic beasts. So when these magic and battle skills hit the magic beasts, they didn't cause much damage. Instead, they aroused the ferocity of these magic beasts, and they charged into the crowd with all their might. The human army used magic and battle techniques, but the magical beast army was not to be outdone. Some of the magical beasts that were obviously weaker in terms of physical strength did not choose to charge at the front lines, nor did they choose to use their teeth and claws to attack the enemy. Instead, they opened their mouths and roared at the sky. In the next second, the magic and skills that belonged to these magical beasts began to bombard the human army. This time, it was the human army's turn to suffer casualties. At a corner of the battlefield, there was a place that was different from the other chaotic battlefields. 20,000 Misaka sisters gathered together and formed a fortress, guarding this corner of the battlefield. The demonic beasts that charged into this corner of the battlefield suffered the most tragic fate. A large number of demonic beasts charged towards the Misaka sisters. However, they were only halfway through their charge when they were struck by lightning bolts that fell from the sky and became one of the many corpses on the ground. As the demonic beasts continued to charge forward, more and more demonic beasts were killed. Gradually, the demonic beasts stacked on top of each other in front of the Misaka sisters, forming a line of death. Some of the demonic beasts who were lucky enough to avoid the lightning strikes managed to reach the Misaka sisters. Without exception, these demonic beasts were struck by countless iron sand whips before they could even attack. Then, they were struck by countless iron sand swords. These demonic beasts either became porcupines or were dismembered into dozens of pieces and thrown to the ground. In this battlefield where blood and death are everywhere, the Misaka sisters became the place with the least casualties. These so-called casualties are from the demonic beasts. As for the Misaka sisters, due to their teamwork, they didn't even suffer a single casualty. Based on the combat power of the sisters, even if they were to split up, each Misaka sister is at least Tier 6. Some of them are even Tier 7. However, these Tier 7 demonic beasts aren't actually level 60. The only reason they are able to exhibit Tier 7 strength is because of a figure in the middle of the sisters. Takitsubu Riku raised her head and looked in front of her. Her pupils were trembling slightly as a strange light flashed in her eyes. She clenched her fists and took a few deep breaths. She muttered to herself, "I can still get stronger. I can still make my sisters stronger." Aside from the Misaka sisters, Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sayai, and Frenda's team were also safe and sound. Not far away from the Misaka sisters, Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sayai, and Frenda also occupied a small corner. They didn't charge out like the others. Instead, they stayed here and faced off against the demonic beast army. If the Misaka sisters' battle is a one-sided group battle, then Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sayai, and Frenda's battle is even weirder. Countless demonic beasts that were charging towards Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sayai, and Frenda started to lose focus as soon as they got close enough. Their beastly eyes were replaced by starry eyes, and their charging bodies stopped in place, not daring to move at all. As a result, the magical beasts closest to the three of them were either smashed into pieces by a small fist or engulfed by a blast of wind that came out of nowhere and lost all ability to move. Some of the demonic beasts whose eyes were replaced by starry eyes weren't killed by Kinuhata Sayai and Frenda. Instead, they turned around and pounced on the demonic beasts behind them. The demonic beast army was on the same side a moment ago, but now that they're here, it's like they're on the same side. Once they encounter each other, it's either you die or I die. If it wasn't for the fact that the demonic beasts around them didn't attack each other, they would have thought that the demonic beasts have returned to normal. Who knows? Standing at the back, Shokuho Misaki held a remote control in her hand. She watched as the demonic beasts around her turned around and attacked her comrades. She couldn't help but smirk. Takitsubu's ability sure is convenient. Originally, she could only control a dozen units at most, but with her ability, she can increase the number of units she can control to more than 100. If she returns to Academy City, Takitsubu will probably become the queen of Academy City. How enviable. Kinuhata Sayai punched a demonic beast that was under Shokuho Misaki's control and said without turning around, "I feel the same way. Takitsubu's ability is super strong. Why didn't my ability become super strong after it was upgraded to LV5? In the end, you're surprised?" Frenda giggled and casually tossed a bomb under one of the magical beasts. If it wasn't for the fact that Takitsubu has too many sisters, we might have been able to experience what it's like to be a multi-ability user. Chapter 521. While Shokuho Misaki, Sayai, Frenda, Takitsubu Riku, and the Misaka sisters occupied a territory and defended it like a fortress, Mikoto, Ikaros, and Astria were the vanguard of the battlefield. They were the vanguard of the battlefield. Above the battlefield, a blue light flashed across the sky and stopped at the densest spot of the demonic beast army. It was a pair of blue wings. Ikaros's crimson eyes turned cold as she looked down at the demonic beast horde. A pair of blue wings spread out from her back, and her lips parted. "Artemis!" A mechanical, old-fashioned voice came out from those seductive lips. Ikaros's luminous wings reacted to the call of her voice. A series of sonic booms rang out, and countless cherry-red missiles emerged and blasted down mercilessly. Bang, 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 bang. The missiles landed in the center of the demonic beast horde. The deafening explosions mixed with the demonic beast's screams echoed in the air. The missiles seemed to have eyes of their own. They drew an arc in the sky and landed in the densest spot of the demonic beast horde. In just a short moment, the number of demonic beasts killed by the missiles exceeded the number of demonic beasts killed by the human army. Ikaros didn't stop there. She once again used Artemis, and a large number of cherry-colored missiles appeared behind her. She waved them around, and they all landed on the magical beast horde, causing huge casualties to the magical beast army. Perhaps it's because Ikaros' killing power is too high, or maybe it's because Ikaros is too conspicuous in the sky. Thus, flying-type demonic beasts that haven't been seen before began to appear on the battlefield. Noticing the appearance of the flying magical beasts, everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. When a locust-like army of flying magical beasts appeared in front of their eyes, Everyone's face was dripping with sweat. Some of them were so unbearable that even their faces turned pale, and their scalps couldn't help but feel numb. The appearance of the flying demonic beasts brought unimaginable pressure to the human army. As long as the difference in strength isn't too great, they will find flying demonic beasts troublesome or even dangerous. The sky is no longer boundless. Countless flying demonic beasts appeared and attacked the human army. The human army had no choice but to brace themselves. Under the leadership of the elite squads, they started fighting the demonic beast horde on the ground and in the air. Under the attack of the magical beast army in the air, the human army was already at a disadvantage. Compared to the magical beasts that could run and jump, the magical beasts that could fly were much more effective than an ordinary person could imagine. The battle was in a stalemate, but now the demonic beast horde is on the side of the sky. The situation isn't looking good. Shokuho Misaki looked coldly at the flying demonic beasts in the sky. Her expression turned grim. If we don't do anything, the demonic beast horde will fall. When that happens, the supply town will be destroyed. The Ailu Empire will go crazy. Kinuhata Sai and Frenda's expression turned grim when they heard Shokuho Misaki's words. They gritted their teeth and looked at the demonic beasts in the sky. They felt helpless. Indeed, to the humans who can't fly, these flying demonic beasts are a fatal threat. Shokuho Misaki felt helpless. She can't affect the flying demonic beasts at all. They are too far away. Artemis, suddenly, a soft sound followed by a series of explosions came from the flying demonic beast horde. It attracted everyone's attention. When everyone realized what was going on, they saw an endless amount of cherry-colored missiles bombarding the flying demonic beasts. A portion of the flying demonic beasts were shot down by the missiles. Ikaros, Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sai, and Frenda were shocked for a moment before their faces lit up with joy. Ikaros' attack saved the human army from a dire situation. Not only did it lessen the pressure on them, it also attracted the attention of the other flying demonic beasts. Realizing that this conspicuous human is a threat to them, they turned around and charged towards Ikaros. However, what awaited them was not only the next wave of missiles from Ikaros, but also the battle techniques and magic from the human army on the ground who were frustrated by the aerial demons' attacks. This time, it's the flying demonic beasts' turn to be frustrated. While they're frustrated, they're met with a human who's kicking them while they're down. Ha! Astrea flapped her pure white wings and flew across the sky. She flew past one flying demonic beast horde after another. She swung her Chrysor, and every time she swung it, a demonic beast would fall. Astrea's attack isn't as powerful as Ikaros' Artemis, but it's much more efficient. She also has the fastest wings among the first generation of angeloids. She managed to clear a path for the flying demonic beast horde. The battle results brought about by the two omnipotent angels stirred up the fighting spirit in the hearts of the human army, who were originally a little timid, and brought about a new round of collisions. The balance of the war was restored once again. Under the assault of the two armies of magical beasts by land and air, the human army should have been defeated. But now, with the participation of just two people, the situation of the battle had become a draw. It must be said that the omnipotent angels were indeed worthy of being called war weapons. Ikaros and Astrea dominated the sky. They're holding back the demonic beast horde in the sky. This situation made the humans on the ground feel their blood boiling. There's jealousy and fear in their eyes, but more than that, there's envy. This caused some of them to be unwilling to be outdone. I can't be weak either. Makoto, who had been controlling the iron sand sword to cut down the demonic beasts, saw the battle in the sky and couldn't help but feel a fire burning in her heart. She raised her hand towards the sky. Blue and white lightning violently surged from Makoto's body. The clear sky suddenly turned into a gust of wind. Dark clouds floated from afar and gathered in the sky. The sky was suddenly covered by dark clouds. The dark clouds became denser and denser. The area was enough to cover the entire battlefield. Countless lightning flashed in the dark clouds, creating a thunderous sound. "Watch me," Makoto scolded and waved her hand downwards. A bolt of lightning shot out from the clouds in the sky and hit the flying demonic beast below. Boom! A violent gust of wind blew across the battlefield. The magical beasts that were struck by the lightning were instantly turned into ashes. As for the flying magical beasts that weren't struck, they lost their balance under the gust of wind. They were blown around and fell to the ground one after the other. Everyone on the ground was dumbfounded. What kind of magic is this? It's so scary. Shock, extreme shock. Everyone's face was filled with shock. However, after the shock, uncontrollable ecstasy also appeared on their faces. With such a strong presence, the chances of victory in this war is huge. However, the next scene that appeared once again turned this ecstasy into shock. That's because a new demonic beast horde has appeared in the behemoth forest, and it's bigger than the previous one. Chapter 522. In front of them, magical beasts of different sizes and appearances gathered together. Their eyes were bloodthirsty, and their roars echoed in the air. They rushed from the giant beast forest to the battlefield, where the battle had yet to end. This is going to be troublesome. Shoko Misaki stared at the new demonic beast army and smiled bitterly. How many demonic beasts are there in the behemoth forest? Are they all going to come out? Kinuta Sai and Frenda shrunk their heads back. Hearing Shoko Misaki's words, they felt a chill down their spine. If it's really as Shoko Misaki said, and all the demonic beasts in the giant beast forest decided to come out, then the casualties today will be huge. Damn it. Makoto clenched her fists. Her brown eyes were filled with frustration. Even she couldn't help but feel a little anxious. One demonic beast army is already hard enough to deal with. Now, there's an even bigger and stronger demonic beast army. Makoto and the girls aren't afraid of them, but there's a supply town behind them. Behind the supply town, there's a human settlement. The crowd stared blankly at the magical beast army charging over from afar. They retreated instinctively, their hands gripping their weapons so tightly that their knuckles turned blue. They were completely oblivious to this, because their hearts were already filled with shock. Can we really defend this place? That's what everyone was thinking. Damn it, when are the reinforcements coming? In the crowd, many people had already begun to curse. They felt powerless and exhausted. They have a lot of people, but most of them are below Tier 7. There aren't many Tier 7 demonic beasts. Makoto, Ikaros, and Astria don't even have a handful of Tier 8 demonic beasts. If they didn't hold on to hope for reinforcements, they wouldn't even have the will to fight. Feifei, when are you coming back? Makoto gritted her teeth and took a deep breath. The lightning around her body lit up again. She looked into the distance with a determined expression. No matter what, I have to hold on until Feifei comes with reinforcements. With this thought in mind, Makoto charged towards a magical beast army with electricity coursing through her body. Bang! Suddenly, in the sky, the flying magical beasts that were flying towards the front seemed to have hit a wall. They were sent flying by the impact, and their bodies were badly mutilated. A loud sound broke through the air, and amidst the screams of the flying magical beasts, it swept across the battlefield, bringing with it wind and waves. Wherever it passed, all the flying magical beasts were sent flying, and some even exploded into a mist of blood. Everyone was stunned, including Makoto, Shoko Misaki, Ikaros, Astria, Kinuta Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku. Before the people on the ground could react, the sound of something breaking through the air came flying back and forth in the sky above the battlefield, knocking those flying magical beasts flying in the sky one after another. During this period of rampaging, by the time the people reacted, the flying magical beasts had already disappeared from the sky. Everyone looked at each other, stunned. At this time, if those magical beasts launched an attack, then they would definitely suffer a fatal blow. However, those magical beasts seemed to have realized something. They raised their heads and roared at the sky, as if there was something above. At this time, on the ground, Makoto's eyes widened, and her mouth gradually opened. This electromagnetic field reaction is exactly the same as the electromagnetic field reaction of my sisters and me. Could it be? Could it be? She looked at the sky with joy. She took a deep breath and raised her hands. She shouted at the sky, "You bastard! Since you're here, hurry up and show yourself." Mikoto's voice inconceivably drowned out the roars of all the demonic beasts present, echoing in this space. Hearing Mikoto's voice, the people who were already stunned were stunned for another 2 to 3 seconds. "You're still as energetic as ever." Following this faint voice, a huge airship slowly appeared in the sky in front of everyone's widened eyes. It showed everyone what exactly it was that smashed those flying magical beasts into a pile of mush. When the full view of the airship entered the field of vision of the people on the ground, a tall and straight figure flew out from inside and stopped in front of the airship. Then, he also entered the field of vision of the people on the ground. Shokoha Misaki, Astria, Kinuhida, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku were surprised when they saw him. Mikoto had a smile on her face, and her eyes were filled with excitement. Ikaros, who was also flying in the sky, was completely stunned. Master, Ikaros mumbled in a daze. Looking at the figure in the distance, an indescribable feeling filled her heart, causing her body to tremble slightly. With the fastest speed possible, she flapped her wings and rushed over to the figure. Ikaros. His eyes followed Ikaros as she flew towards him from afar. When he saw the unconcealable longing in her crimson eyes, he chuckled and rubbed her head. "I'm back." Ikaros only regained her senses when she felt the warmth from the hand on her head. She stared at Wu Yin and lowered her head. Everything she wanted to say was reduced to one sentence. "Welcome back, Master." He's finally back. Mikoto, Shokoha Misaki, Kinuhida, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku sighed in relief. Wu Yin is only top 5 in terms of strength. He's probably the weakest among all of them except for Astria. However, his appearance brought them an unimaginable sense of security. "Master!" Astria flapped her wings, and she jumped in front of Wu Yin while yelling and jumping around. "Master, you're finally back." When Astria arrived in front of Wu Yin, she saw Fraxinus on Wu Yan's back, and she shrieked in shock. "What is that?" "That's a huge battleship." Wu Yin shook his head and laughed at Astria's exaggerated actions. He wanted to say something, but he paused, and he turned around to look at the people below. "Well, let's talk about the details later. Those guys down there look like they can't wait any longer." Wu Yan's voice was very soft, but everyone heard him. Only now did they remember that this is not the time to be daydreaming. Even though they have been here for quite some time already, well, they couldn't be blamed. The magic that could control the phenomenon of heaven and earth, the terrifying strength of the girl with wings, and the strangely shaped floating ship were all challenging the limits of people's minds. It was to the point that they made the fatal mistake of being stunned on the battlefield. Fortunately, the magical beasts seemed to have been intimidated by this and did not attack for a while. All the magical beasts raised their heads and roared towards the sky. It was unknown if it was because of the death of their companions that made them angry, or because their beast-like instincts were telling them where the truly fatal thing was. "Oh, roar!" "Oh!" Wu Yin narrowed his eyes when he saw the demonic beast army roaring at him. He took a step forward in midair. I don't know why the demonic beasts are rushing out of the behemoth forest, but I know Fraxinus's flying speed. I don't know about its combat prowess. Chapter 5:23. Roar, roar, roar. The demonic beasts seemed to be able to understand the voice coming from the sky. They roared angrily as they stared at the figure in the sky. Then, a dense wave of magic started spreading out from the demonic beasts. Magic skills rose from the bodies of the magical beasts. Flames, lightning, gales, rocks, ice, all kinds of magic filled the entire sky. Colorful halos reverberated, and under the gaze of everyone on the ground, they attacked the floating figure in the sky. Yen, Mikoto, Shokoha Misaki, Kinuhida, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku couldn't help but yell out in worry when they saw Wu Yin being bombarded by so many powerful spells. Master, Ikaros and Astria took a step forward. They wanted to use their defensive equipment to block the spells and protect Wu Yin, but Wu Yin stopped them. Wu Yin calmly glanced at the barrage of spells. He could feel the power coming from the barrage. It was as if the barrage of spells didn't pose a threat to him. Just as the barrage of magic is about to hit him, Wu Yin lifted his head and pointed his finger forward. Territory, random territory. Expand. The airship shuddered and it started glowing with green light. It expanded and a hexagonal green barrier appeared around Fraxinus. The barrier enveloped Wu Yin, Ikaros, and Astria, who were flying at the front of the airship, and protected them inside. As the green barrier rose, the magic barrage bombarded the barrier and collided with it. A series of loud explosions sounded from the barrier. Smoke and dust shrouded the area where the magic barrage and the barrier collided, making it impossible for people to see the specific situation inside. The magic barrage continued to bombard the smoke and dust. The explosions became louder and louder, and the smoke and dust became thicker and thicker. When the magic barrage was exhausted and the smoke and dust dissipated, the intact green barrier reappeared in front of everyone's eyes without a trace of damage. The green barrier slowly retreated and released Wu Yin, Ikaros, and Astria. The moment they reappeared, Wu Yin pointed forward again. This time, he pointed at the direction of the demonic beast army. After a series of kacha sounds, a series of continuous firing sounds could be heard. From the countless cannons, countless missiles were shot out from Fraxinus. The number of missiles was comparable to the previous magic barrage. They covered the sky and covered the earth like meteors crashing to the ground. Boom, 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 boom. In an instant, a thunderous roar resounded across the land. Every missile stirred up the howls of beasts and the sounds of rocks exploding. Flames flickered repeatedly on the ground below, destroying the surface of the earth as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The missiles continued to bombard the ground, causing the ground to shake. By the time all the missiles were fired, the ground was already riddled with holes. Holes were everywhere on the ground, and in each of the holes were the remains of some magic beasts. There was no doubt that these magic beasts were all dead. This is impossible. In the crowd, many people cried out involuntarily. Their faces were filled with disbelief as they looked at the miserable state of the magical beasts in the distance and the ruined ground. Their minds were buzzing and they were about to faint. And these people were all from those large families and great powers. It was not hard to understand why they would lose their composure like this. On one hand, they had risked their lives to deal with the magical beast army, which had almost been in danger, but now almost half of them were dead or injured. This made them feel shocked and dispirited. On the other hand, they felt that the current situation brought about by the floating ship flying in the air was inconceivable. In the Spalier world, they have never heard of a floating ship being used in a battle, let alone one with such terrifying destructive power. Of course, they don't know that Wu Yan's Fraxinus is not a floating ship. Oh, the magical beasts that were lucky enough to avoid being hit by the missiles once again let out a howl. But this time, the sound was not like the howl of a fierce magical beast. Instead, it was like the whimpers of a puppy that was running away with its tail between its legs. The sound was full of fear. Demonic beasts don't have high intelligence, but no matter how low their intelligence is, they are definitely smarter than ordinary puppies. Even puppies know what is dangerous and can't be touched. These demonic beasts naturally know. Their wild instincts told them that the huge flying ship in the sky is something that can annihilate them all. Some of the demonic beasts were hit by the missiles and have some wounds on their bodies. These wounds made their bodies twitch in pain, but at the same time, it also made the demonic beasts look even more ferocious. Unfortunately, the culprit that caused them to fall into this state is in the sky where they can't reach. They can't vent their anger on the flying ship, so they can only turn their attention to the humans. Just as these demonic beasts were about to charge at the humans, the Fraxinus in the sky had its cannons retracted back into the body of the flying ship. Instead, they were replaced by small pipes that looked like water pipes. When the entire flying ship was filled with small pipes, a burst of light energy gathered at the pipes. Then, a laser beam that filled everyone's eyes fell from the sky. The demonic beasts on the ground stopped howling. The ferocious look in their eyes dissipated. Only fear remained in their eyes because they all sensed danger at this moment. The demonic beasts let out a wail that isn't any better than a scream. They all turned around, trying to escape from this dangerous place, but it's too late. The laser beam that fell from the sky was like a bunch of arrows shooting at the demonic beasts from afar. When the demonic beasts turned around to escape, the laser beam already arrived in front of them and pierced through their bodies, leaving a bloody hole in their huge and tough bodies. Huff, huff! Fresh blood dripped down from the bodies of the magical beasts that had been pierced through. The heavy blow to their bodies caused the bodies of the magical beasts that were just about to fly away to pause and stiffen on the spot. The eyes of the beasts trembled intensely, and an unknown cry was emitted from their mouths. The blood at the corner of their mouths was like saliva as it flowed down. Together with the blood that flowed out from the bloody holes on their bodies, a small pool of blood formed on the ground after a period of time. The laser beam attack also ended. At the scene, all of the magical beasts had a bloody hole on their bodies. When the laser beam attack ended, these magical beasts slowly fell to the ground, no longer able to move. The sound of magic beasts falling to the ground continued to resound, causing the ground to tremble. These tremors seemed to resonate directly in everyone's hearts, attacking their minds and causing their hearts to tremble as well. Looking at the corpses of the demonic beasts on the ground in a daze, everyone's eyes lost focus. They didn't come back to their senses for a long time. Front and back, 1 defense, 2 attacks, the demonic beast army is dead. Chapter 5:24. Wu Yin, who is floating in the sky, saw everything that happened on the ground. However, he didn't pay any attention to the performance of those who participated in the battle. He curled his lips and ignored them. In Wu Yan's opinion, these people's reactions were a bit exaggerated. Indeed, the effect of Fraxinus was shocking, but that was only based on the assumption that these people thought that Fraxinus was an airship. In fact, Fraxinus wasn't an airship at all. To be more precise, it was a large gold armament. Wu Yan can more or less guess why these people are so shocked. Fraxinus is a weapon that can be used in a large-scale war like this. Anyone with power or influence would want to get their hands on such a weapon. Think about it. When 2 forces clashed and fought each other to the point where it was either you die or I live, and one side had a weapon that was specially used for war, how terrifying would it be for the enemy? Perhaps with Fraxinus' strength, he wouldn't be able to do much against powerhouses of the 8th rank and above. However, would a family, a faction, have so many powerhouses of the 8th rank under them? Of course, that's impossible. Most of their subordinates would be the weaker ones. Using Fraxinus to deal with an army made up of weaker people would be much more effective. Not to mention the peak fighting power, it could definitely wipe out an entire faction. If they had such a weapon of war, they'd be invincible in every battle. Plus, they're treating Fraxinus as a special airship. That's why they came up with this idea. Such a weapon of war could be mass-produced. These 2 reasons added together were the real reason why the members of the major factions were shocked. Wu Yan didn't care too much about what these people were thinking. He didn't care about what these people were thinking. If they were really greedy for Fraxinus, they could just come and take it. As long as someone can take away Fraxinus, Wu Yan wouldn't treat the person as an enemy. Instead, he would ask the person for advice before heading to the world of fate to rob the shiny gate of Babylon. Compared to these people, Wu Yan was more interested in the effects of Fraxinus. Fraxinus didn't disappoint him. No wonder the system rated it as a B-rank gold armament. In a one-on-one fight, Fraxinus couldn't compare to the Gate of Babylon. It couldn't even compare to the Shana. But in a war like this, it can be used as a fortress. No other armament can compare to it. At least, Wu Yan hasn't seen one yet. especially Fraxinus. It even came with a territory defense type equipment. Even a one-on-one fight, it could still be useful. In terms of defense, territory is on par with Ikaros' Aegis. It's only slightly weaker than Astria's Aegis. I found a treasure. No, I should say I found a treasure. Wu Yin smiled and waved at the airship behind him. A door opened on the surface of the airship. Chuju and Flanderchan stood at the entrance. Ikaros, Astria, go fetch Chuju and Flanderchan. Yes, master. The two angelic girls flapped their wings and came in front of Hinajiku and Flanderchan, helping them down. Ikaros and Astria brought the two girls down. Wu Yin waved his hand, and a crimson spatial ripple appeared behind Fraxinus. The ripple swallowed the entire airship. Everyone on the ground looked at each other in confusion as they watched the powerful floating ship vanish. It seemed like the floating ship had appeared out of thin air when it first appeared, and now it had vanished into thin air. After storing Fraxinus into the gate of Babylon, Wu Yin looked at the dead demonic beasts and licked his lips. Looks like I found a new item and ability point. Wu Yin flew down from the sky. Ikaros and Astria, who were carrying Chuju and Flanderchan, quickly followed after him. The five of them landed on the ground in front of everyone's eyes. Yen, Mikoto, Shokuho Misaki, Kinuhata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Rika squeezed through the crowd and ran towards Wu Yin. Mikoto was the first to speak when she saw Wu Yin. Yin, that airship just now, oh, that's what I got from the other world. Wu Yin smiled at the girls. He sighed after looking at them for a bit. Although I've only been gone for less than half a day, I still want to say, long time no see. Is that so? Shokuho Misaki covered her mouth and giggled. Her eyes narrowed into slits. It was obvious that she was teasing him. Haven't you ever thought that it would be best if you never saw us again? Huh? Wu Yin was confused by Shokuho Misaki's words. Why would I think that? I've never thought of it that way. Is that so? Shokuho Misaki looked at him suspiciously. Don't all men who have a new lover think that way? Wu Yin almost spat out a mouthful of saliva. The girls were shocked and turned to look at Wu Yin. Hey Yin, Kaisha-sama's smile was as beautiful as a flower. You didn't mess around in the dungeon world, right? He shook his head desperately. Hey Yin, Sis Cannon's smile was as beautiful as a flower, but there was a spark in her forehead. You didn't add any more companions for us, right? He shook his head stiffly. Hey Yin, Ju-sama's smile was as beautiful as a flower, but it was cold. You're not lying, are you? He shook his head stiffly. Under the girls' intense gazes, he nodded with difficulty. When they saw Wu Yin nodding, Chuju, Mikoto, and Shokuho Misaki's expressions darkened. Seeing the three girls' gloomy expressions, Wu Yin jumped in fright and quickly said, I'm not messing around, really. The companions I found for us are all very obedient and easy to get along with. You girls will definitely like them. Like them. Mikoto was so angry that she laughed. Do you think that's realistic? Wu Yin smiled bitterly. I don't have enough summoning points for now, so I can't summon them. You'll know when you see them in person. I'm sure you'll get along well with them. Shokuho Misaki stared at Wu Yin for a while before she snorted and turned her head away. I hope you're telling the truth. Of course I'm telling the truth. Wu Yin said this with confidence. With Toka and Yashitomo's naive and innocent personalities, no one would hate them. Kotori's personality is a bit of a tsundere, but there's no shortage of tsundere girls here. As for Kurumi, other than the fact that she can go berserk at any moment, what's the difference between her and Ju-sama? Chapter 525. Seeing a man and 9 women flirting with each other in the center of the battlefield filled with corpses of magical beasts. The surrounding people who came to resist the magical beast army looked left and right. Their eyes and faces were filled with a strange taste, not knowing how to react. In the end, they all decided at the same time that it was better not to care so much after temporarily solving the problem in his backyard. Wu Yin turned his head to look at the corpses of magical beasts that were piled up in 2s and 3s on the ground. His eyes turned, and the corners of his mouth curled up. No matter how one looked at it, he was filled with joy. There was no way he could not be happy. The corpses of magical beasts were still very valuable to others, and it was even more so to Wu Yin. The torso of magical beasts could be turned over to the system to obtain item points, and the magic crystals could obtain ability points. The corpses on the ground were full of points. With a thought, Wu Yin lifted his foot in a small arc and quickly stepped down. Instantly, the corpses of magical beasts on the ground disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Ding! Obtained 1375500 item points. Ding! Obtained 130,000 ability points. The system notification echoed in his mind. When he heard the numbers of the two types of points he had obtained, especially the item points, Wu Yan's face twitched a few times before returning to normal. However, his heart was in a mess, and he could not help but crazily laugh to the sky for 10 minutes. In the blink of an eye, the item points that were originally 0 had now jumped to 10 million. Wu Yan was still able to suppress his emotions, which was already a very difficult thing to do. After all, other than the time when he had obtained a huge item points in the sealed boundary of the world of the Whirlwind Butler, Wu Yan had never obtained more than 1 million item points. Moreover, there were even 130,000 ability points. How could this not make Wu Yan go wild with joy? Don't think that it's a loss to get so little ability points from such a large number of demonic beasts. That's right, the demonic beast army this time was huge, too many to count. Otherwise, Wu Yan wouldn't be able to get 13 million item points in one go. However, among so many demonic beasts, the highest level is only a dozen tier 7. The rest are all tier 7 and below. To be able to get 130,000 ability points is already pretty good. With such a harvest, although Wu Yan tried his best to suppress the joy in his heart, a faint smile involuntarily appeared on his face, telling others that he was in a very good mood. And in contrast to Wu Yan, the crowd who were just bystanders were not happy in their hearts. Not only were they not happy in their hearts, they even had thoughts of cursing. Their eyes widened as they looked at the ground that was still littered with the corpses of magical beasts a second ago. Now, only blood was left on the ground. They were stunned on the spot, and then they started to clamor. Where are the magical beasts? Why are they all gone? Impossible. They were clearly just now. What the hell is going on? Everyone's eyes were fixed on the ground, as if they were trying to see through the invisibility of the magical beast's corpse. Their faces were filled with hysteria. The magical beast that charged out of the behemoth forest this time might not be high level, but the sheer number of magical beasts was enough to send chills down anyone's spine. If they could get a share of the magical beast corpses, it would be a great harvest. But now the magical beast corpses are all gone. It's no different from Dollar growing wings and flying away on his own. Chuju and the others were stunned for a moment. When they saw Wu Yan smile, they knew who the culprit is. Other than Ikaros and Flander-chan, the girls rolled their eyes at Wu Yan, including Astria and Takitsubu Riku. Wu Yan glanced at the rowdy crowd and pursed his lips. He sneered in disdain. At least 70% of the magical beasts died under Fraxinus's bullet barrage. The remaining 30% came from Mikoto and the Misaka sisters. How dare they ask for a share of the loot? If I didn't come here, I don't know how many people would have died. Taking 10% of the magical beast corpses as compensation is letting you guys off easy. Thinking up to this point, he scanned the people around him. His eyes flashed with the light of the system's perceptive sense. When everyone entered his vision and their information was displayed, he couldn't help but frown in doubt. These people seemed to have formed a team spontaneously. However, a small part of them was obviously different from the rest. They were a team. This group of people was the most elite among the crowd. There were even a few of them who were at the 8th rank. Compared to the scattered teams, these teams seem more like they have a purpose. Wu Yan suddenly remembered that Mikoto and the others came to the Behemoth Forest to rescue the Misaka sisters. Why are they suddenly involved in this war? Also, the timing wasn't right, so he didn't think too much about it. Now that he thought about it, what's up with the magical beasts army? Why did they charge out of the Behemoth Forest? Wu Yan was still in the dark about this. Wu Yan turned to look at Mikoto and the others. Makoto, aren't you here to rescue the Misaka sisters? Why are you suddenly leading the Misaka sisters to fight against the magical beasts? Yeah, Shuju also snapped out of her daze. When I first came here, I saw you guys fighting against the magical beasts army. I was shocked. Makoto and the others looked at each other. Makoto looked at Shokuho Misaki. Why don't you tell me? Shokuho Misaki nodded and turned to Wu Yen. Actually, we didn't expect things to turn out this way. Shokuho Misaki explained the situation to Wu Yen and Hinajuku. Wu Yen and Hinajuku understood what happened. When they first came to the Behemoth Forest, Makoto and the others were working together with Fei Fei. Makoto and the others were there to rescue the sisters, while Fei Fei was there to investigate the reason for the abnormality in the Behemoth Forest. Since they were close friends, they decided to enter the Behemoth Forest together. After all, Makoto and the others were strong. Fei Fei's strength was also there for everyone to see. It was much better for them to work together. Under the lead of Misaka 10032, the girls successfully found the Misaka sisters. They successfully chased away the demonic beasts and rescued the sisters. However, after that, something unexpected happened. The abnormality in the Behemoth Forest attracted the attention of the various clans in the Ailu Empire. As a natural treasure trove in the Spalier world, every faction sent their best men to investigate. Fei Fei did the same. Because of this, the Behemoth Forest attracted a large number of people. This is where the problem lies. No one knows why the Behemoth Forest is abnormal. However, since the magical beasts in the Behemoth Forest chased away the humans, they must be hoping that no one will enter the Behemoth Forest. However, as more and more people flocked to the Behemoth Forest, the number of humans increased. Most of them were at least tier 6. As a result, the magical beasts in the outer perimeter of the Behemoth Forest couldn't stop the humans from entering, let alone chase them away. Finally, the magical beasts in the Behemoth Forest went berserk. Chapter 5:26. Wu Yen and Shuju felt relieved after listening to Shokuho Misaki's explanation. Their brows furrowed even deeper. After Shokuho Misaki finished, Wu Yen pondered for a moment. So according to what you're saying, the reason why the demonic beasts rushed out of the Behemoth Forest is because of you? What do you mean it's because of us? Makoto grumbled. It's obviously because of those bastards. Even if we didn't come, the demonic beasts would have gone berserk because they couldn't stop the humans from invading. Shokuho Misaki nodded in agreement. At the end of the day, it's because of those demonic beasts. If they didn't act strangely, no one would have come here to investigate, and this wouldn't have happened. That's true. Wu Yen shrugged helplessly. Then, where did Fei Fei go? Didn't you guys travel together? Why can't you find her? Hearing this, Makoto and Shokuho Misaki bitterly smiled. Fei Fei went back to her family to ask for reinforcements. Not only did Fei Fei go back to her family to ask for reinforcements, many of the powerful families that were here also went back to report the situation. Ask for reinforcements. Wu Yen pulled a long face. Why would they ask for reinforcements? Distant water can't put out a nearby fire. Traveling from the Behemoth Forest to their family's base to ask for reinforcements. If something goes wrong, the demonic beasts will kill everyone here and feed the town. You can't blame them. Shokuho Misaki smiled bitterly. You guys don't know this, but before this demonic beast army came out, there was another wave of demonic beasts. There's another wave? Wu Yen and Hinajuka gasped. Yes. Makoto nodded. It was that wave of demonic beasts. They paid with their lives and forced everyone out of the Behemoth Forest. Because of that, there weren't many demonic beasts left after they rushed out of the Behemoth Forest. That's how we got rid of them. After that, Shokuho Misaki didn't want to be outdone. We noticed that the other demonic beasts in the Behemoth Forest were showing signs of rushing out of the Behemoth Forest. Their numbers were 10 times more than before. If they rushed out and ran into the town would be finished. Fei Fei and the other family members realized that things weren't as simple as they seemed. They rushed back to ask for reinforcements before the demonic beasts came out. There are 3 supply towns in the Spalier world. The 3 empires built them not far from the Behemoth Forest. Due to the abundance of resources in the Behemoth Forest, the supply towns are considered as a resource center for the 3 empires. They can't let a place like this fall. Plus, the demonic beasts are acting strangely. It's important that the demonic beasts come out of the Behemoth Forest. The development of the matter was no longer something that could be solved with a simple investigation. Fei and the members of the other powers had chosen to return and report the matter to ask for reinforcements. That was a very correct decision. However, Wuyan isn't satisfied with their decision. What if the magical beasts rush out while they're reporting back? What should we do then? Before Makoto, Shoko Misaki, and the others could reply, Wuyan continued with a cold smile. The best solution is to leave some people behind to defend against the invasion of the demonic beasts. You guys are the ones who are left behind, right? That's a good idea. At this moment, even if his relationship with Fei isn't shallow, Wuyan couldn't help but feel a bit of anger. With Makoto and Ko's strength, no matter how many demonic beasts there are, they would at most be helpless against them, but they wouldn't be able to hurt them. However, there are no absolutes in this world. Plans can't always keep up with changes. Who knows what accidents might happen? Little Yin, don't be angry. The girls can see the anger in Wu Yan's heart from his sneer. However, they're happy. After all, Wu Yan is only doing this because he cares about them. Shokuho Misaki even lowered her voice and tried to persuade Wu Yan. Don't blame Fei. If she could, she would also want to stay and fight alongside us. It's not like you don't know her. If she doesn't do this, who knows if there will be a 3rd or 4th wave of magical beasts. At that time, we might be able to survive if we rely on the few of us, but how long will we be able to hold them off? Wu Yan's expression eased up a little when he heard Shokuho Misaki's words. He sighed. I'm not worried about you girls. It's just that the sisters are weak. I don't want to see 2 of them get hurt. The sisters are weak? Shokuho Misaki's lips curled into a smile. Yin, it seems like you don't care enough about the sisters, Wu Yan was surprised. He raised his head and looked at Shokuho Misaki. Shokuho Misaki didn't explain. Instead, she pointed at the sisters. Look at the sisters' current levels. Wu Yan looked at Shokuho Misaki curiously. He opened his system perception and looked at the sisters. Wu Yan was stunned. His mouth opened into a circle. Wu Yan rubbed his eyes and looked at the sisters again. After confirming that the information he saw was correct, Wu Yan couldn't help but ask, Rank 6? That's so fast. How is it? It's super shocking, isn't it? Kinuhata Sai finally found a chance to attack Wu Yan. She put her hands on her hips and mocked him. You're trying to be a brother-in-law, but you don't even know your sister-in-law. You're so useless. What brother-in-law, sister-in-law? Makoto blushed. In this place, the sisters only have one elder sister, and that's her. If Wu Yan is the sister's brother-in-law, wouldn't that mean that she's his wife? The arrogant cis-canon wouldn't admit it so easily. Hey, results, don't just focus on the sisters. Frenda looked like a kid who got full marks on a test paper. Look at us too. We're much stronger than before. Wu Yan snapped out of his daze. He opened his system perception and scanned the sisters. Their levels appeared in front of Wu Yan's eyes. Gue Chiju, level 69, Misaka Mikoto. Level 75, Ikaros. Level 79, Astria. Level 77, Shokuho Misaki. Level 69, Kinuhata Sai. Level 65, Frenda. Level 64, Takitsubu Riku. Level 64, no way. Wu Yan was shocked. How did you all level up so fast? Shokuho Misaki smiled and crossed her arms in front of her chest. It's all thanks to the sisters who hunted demonic beasts in the Behemoth Forest day and night. They all leveled up to Tier 6. Even Kinuhata, Frenda, and Takitsubu leveled up to Tier 7. We leveled up too. These experience points might not mean much to you, Misaka, Ikaros, and Astria. But for us, it's different. You probably didn't feel anything after killing so many demonic beasts, but we leveled up. The same goes for the sisters. Do you still think the sisters are weak? Wu Yan gulped and retorted. So what if we're tier 6? More than half of the demonic beasts were tier 6. It's not just in terms of power. Shokuho Misaki giggled. The most important thing is that we have Takitsubu's help. After reaching tier 7, she has also reached level 5. Her ability can actually affect our personal reality and bring us improvement. With her help, almost all of my sisters have reached tier 7 strength. Wu Yan was shocked. He looked at the shy Takitsubu and smiled bitterly. So you're the one who hid the deepest. Chapter 5:27. Takitsubu Riku's original ability was the LV4 level ability tracking. The effect of this ability was to search for and lock onto the location of an aptitude user who possessed an AIM diffusion force field based on her previous memories. Even if the opponent had fled to an area outside of the solar system, she would still be able to track down their location and capture their information. Ability tracking was powerful, but it didn't have any offensive capabilities. It was also wrong to say that it was weak, because without this ability, the efficiency of the Academy City's Black Ops would be greatly reduced. Generally speaking, ability tracking was quite good in terms of support. However, after Takitsubu Riku reached LVL 5, ability tracking completely changed. Through the AIM diffusion field, she could freely manipulate other people's own reality. She could enhance, weaken, exchange, and change other people's abilities at will. She could even create a multi-ability user. This was Takitsubu Riku's current ability. This ability was undoubtedly very powerful, so powerful that it made people envious. To put it bluntly, with this ability, Takitsubu Riku could even start her own Academy City. Moreover, it would be even more powerful than the original Academy City, because she could freely cultivate and create ability users, and even directly create an Esper that wasn't just a dream. It has to be said that the previous Takitsubu Riku was buried by the entire Academy City. Although Takitsubu Riku's ability could only be used for tracking before reaching LVL 5. After reaching LVL 5, it would definitely be more useful than any other ability user in Academy City. It's impossible that the people of Academy City didn't detect Takitsubu Riku's talent. Logically speaking, with Academy City style, doing their best to nurture Takitsubu Riku would be the best choice. If that's the case, it would be of great help to Academy City. With such a talent, Takitsubu Riku was actually thrown into the Black Ops by the people of Academy City. They even made her use a body crystal, which was harmful to her body. It was as if there was something wrong with her head. Regarding this matter, the higher-ups of Academy City can't be blamed entirely. It's impossible for them not to covet such an ability. The main reason why Takitsubu Riku was reduced to this state was because it's extremely difficult to raise her ability to LV5. Originally, the higher-ups of Academy City had intended to raise Takitsubu Riku as the 8th person of Academy City. But later, according to the simulation of the tree diagram designer, the chances of Takitsubu Riku reaching level 5 and becoming the 8th person was infinitely close to 0. With regards to the results of the tree diagram designer's simulation, the science-minded people of Academy City naturally wouldn't doubt it. Therefore, the higher-ups of Academy City could only focus on the body crystal and have Takitsubu Riku consume the body crystal to achieve a similar effect. Unfortunately, the simulation also failed. In the end, Takitsubu Riku, the most talented aptitude user, could only become a Black Ops member who assisted in tracking. The higher-ups of Academy City probably didn't expect that in this world there would be an anomaly like Wu Yan who possessed such a heaven-defying system. In their eyes, Takitsubu Riku had completely given up on her, but when it came to Wu Yan, it blossomed successfully and became the LV5 that they thought was impossible. According to the simulation of the tree diagram designer, the chances of Takitsubu Riku reaching LV5 were infinitely close to 0. But with the system, chances and whatnot were just nonsense. To become Wu Yan's summon, aptitude and bottlenecks were non-existent. As long as there was experience, it was only a matter of time before one reached the pinnacle, let alone a LV5. In other words, Wu Yan had picked up a great bargain. An aptitude user that everyone coveted was turned into his wife by him. Should I say that he had good taste? No matter what, the result was good. His wives were finally able to show their prowess, and the Misaka sisters were all growing up. This was undoubtedly a joyous occasion. Now, even if Wu Yin wanted to establish his own faction in the Spalier world, it would be more than enough. He had 20,000 Misaka sisters with unlimited growth potential, as well as powerful pillars of support like the young girls, and a wise woman like Shokuho Misaki who was adept at managing her subordinates. What was impossible? Fortunately, Wu Yin didn't intend to establish his own faction in the Spalier world. Otherwise, the Spalier world would have gained another thug who would steal their rice bowls, and a very powerful one at that. To prevent any more demonic beasts from escaping the behemoth forest and entering the supply town, Wu Yin and the rest stayed behind to guard the entrance of the behemoth forest. Whether the demonic beasts in the behemoth forest would harm the human world or the supply town had nothing to do with them. However, Wu Yin knew that if the Spalier world was unlucky, they wouldn't be able to escape from this whirlpool. Rather than waiting for that to happen, they might as well put in some effort since it wouldn't be a problem anyway. Moreover, Wu Yin couldn't bear to watch so many innocent civilians die under the claws of the demonic beasts in the supply town. The Kansas Cannon and the president wouldn't let it happen either. Plus, Fei Fei still had a favor to ask of them, so they could only stay here for the time being. Demonic beasts appeared a few more times as expected. However, there weren't as many of them as before, and none of them were above level 6. Wu Yin couldn't be bothered to do anything, so he let the Misaka sisters practice on their own. Needless to say, the combined strength of the Misaka sisters was off the charts. They killed the demonic beasts in a matter of seconds, leaving Wu Yin stunned. This time, Wu Yin didn't touch the corpses of the demonic beasts. If he ate the meat, he should at least let the others have the soup. Otherwise, what would happen if they ran away? Since there weren't many demonic beasts and their levels were low, they couldn't be exchanged for a lot of points. Wu Yin didn't mind. After waiting for about 3 to 4 hours, finally, another batch of demonic beasts fell under the swords of the human army. Reinforcements finally arrived. A large army that was several times larger than the number of people guarding the supply town, wearing armor, holding knight swords, long spears, and other weapons, rushed from the direction of the supply town. They spread out and formed a human wall, protecting the entire supply town behind them. The leader of the army was an old man, one that Wu Yin and the others were familiar with. Lei Wang. Wu Yin and the others looked at the old man from afar and called out his name in shock. That's right, the old man is Lulu's grandfather, the host of the Spalier World Tournament, a member of the Academy Council, the ancestor of the Lori family of Ailu Empire, Lei Wang. Ha ha ha! Lei Wang looked towards Wu Yin's direction. When he saw Wu Yin, he couldn't help but laugh. He waved his hand and said, "Little guy, we meet again. Yin, Chuju, Makoto." Beside the Thunder King, Fei Fei, who was holding the night elf, ran over. She glanced at everyone before letting out a sigh of relief and said, "That's great. You guys managed to hold on until we arrived. You guys are finally here." Makoto shook her head with a bitter smile. There were signs of relief on her face as well. "I didn't expect you to come personally," Wu Yin said politely to Lei Wang, who also walked towards them. Lei Wang was Lulu's grandfather. Be it in terms of seniority, strength, or experience, Lei Wang was more than a level higher than Wu Yin. It was only natural for Wu Yin to be polite. However, Wu Yin didn't expect a Tier 9 powerhouse like Lei Wang to come personally. Chapter 528. Lei Wang's smile widened at Wu Yan's courteous behavior. He patted Wu Yan's shoulder without the slightest arrogance of a powerhouse. "You didn't expect this, did you, kid?" Lei Wang sized up Wu Yin with his weathered eyes. His eyes lit up when he noticed something. "Kid, I haven't seen you for a day or two, and you've grown a lot. Did you rank up?" Wu Yin was slightly surprised. He lifted his head to look at the smiling Lei Wang and nodded his head in admiration. "I didn't expect you to see through me." Lei Wang shook his head in amusement. "Kid, you have so many secrets, but you don't want to talk about them. I can't help it. I'm very curious, so I had to wipe my eyes clean and find out for myself. Wu Yin smiled sheepishly and didn't say anything else. Fei Fei finally reacted from the conversation. She covered her mouth and looked at Wu Yin in shock. Yin, you've ranked up? You're a tier 8 powerhouse now? Well, I've been grinding for so long. Wu Yin said half-heartedly to Fei Fei. It's all thanks to the battle with Jaffer that I broke through my bottleneck. I see. Fei Fei looked at Wu Yin with envy. I didn't expect that the opponent who was on par with me a month ago would be ahead of me now. Fei Fei, you'll reach tier 8 sooner or later. Wu Yin saw the envy on Fei Fei's face. You're already at the peak of tier 7. It's only a matter of time before you reach tier 8. It's not that easy. Fei Fei smiled bitterly. There are many peak tier 7 powerhouses in the Spalier World Academy, but how many tier 8 powerhouses are there? One mistake, and you'll be stuck at this level for the rest of your life. Don't underestimate yourself, Fei Fei. Wu Yin smiled and looked at Fei Fei's face. You should think about it this way. How many tier 8 powerhouses are there that can reach the peak of tier 7 at your age? Well said, kid. Lei Wang clapped and looked at Wu Yin with praise. He then looked at Fei Fei and grinned. Fei Fei, don't underestimate yourself. Back then, although your teacher was also a rank 7 when he was your age, he didn't reach your level. You're only one step away from the rank 8. Your talent is stronger than your teacher's. That brat has already reached the rank 8. How can you not reach the same level as him? The most important thing is to have a good attitude. Fei Fei lowered her head and thought for a while. Then she smiled. I understand. Thank you, Patriarch. And Yin, I'm happy to see all of you grow up. The Thunder King stroked the white beard on his chin and said with a smile. At the Thunder King's level and age, compared to himself, he was naturally more willing to see his juniors grow up healthily. Otherwise, he would not have chosen to be the host of the Inter Academy tournament. At this time, some of the more well-dressed people walked out from the crowd. They glanced at Lei Wang and wanted to greet him, but when they saw Lei Wang chatting with Wu Yin and the others, they dismissed the idea and retreated to the side. Wu Yin took note of the situation. Based on their attire and their location, Wu Yin guessed that they are reinforcements sent by the other families to the giant beast forest. Wu Yin looked at Lei Wang in confusion. Grandpa Lei Wang, why did you bring these people here? Aren't you the old ancestor of the Lori family? What? Lei Wang glanced at Wu Yin with a half-smile. Do I look like the kind of person who would watch a show behind scenes? No, that's not it. Wu Yin scratched his face. However, there's something I don't understand. As a member of another family, why would they agree to let you lead their family members? Lei Wang's smile didn't change after hearing Wu Yan's words. However, Wu Yan's sharp senses noticed that Lei Wang's expression tensed up a little. It made that smiling face full of wrinkles look a little more serious. It can't be helped. Lei Wang looked at the troops and said to Wu Yin and the rest, after all, the Ailu Emperor personally ordered me to lead the troops here. The Ailu Emperor. Wu Yin and the girls looked at each other. They didn't know how to react. Shokuho Misaki thought of something and looked at Lei Wang. Could it be that this incident has reached the point where the Empire has to send a Tier 9 expert? Oh, Lei Wang looked at her. Not bad, little girl. You have a sharp mind. It's no wonder you were able to raise the 13th faction in the Spalier World Academy in a month. Shokuho Misaki wasn't happy with Lei Wang's praise. Instead, she frowned. Everyone else, including Wu Yin, had the same reaction. Lei Wang's words were equivalent to acknowledging Shokuho Misaki's words. Even the Empire is paying attention to this issue, sending a Tier 9 fighter. Wu Yin rubbed his forehead as if he had a headache. This is the first time he's paying attention to this demonic beast anomaly ever since he arrived here. The atmosphere became a little heavy, causing everyone's hearts to seem to be covered by a layer of dark clouds. At this moment, the Thunder King's words changed. Don't look at me like that. Things aren't as bad as you think. Wu Yin blinked. He looked at Lei Wang and sighed helplessly. I say, Grandpa Lei Wang, don't keep us in suspense. You're causing us to feel uneasy. It doesn't feel good. The Thunder Lord laughed out loud. He crossed his arms in front of him and tapped his arm with a finger. After pondering for a moment, he said to the crowd, "Then I'll be direct. The reason why the old emperor asked me to come was merely because of a guess." "A guess?" Everyone turned their gazes to the Thunder Monarch, waiting for him to continue. Everyone could roughly tell that what the Thunder Monarch was about to say next would be very important. "Perhaps you all don't know," Lei Wang said softly. "Actually, this incident where the magical beasts in the behemoth forest stopped attacking each other and stood on the same side and chased away the humans in their territory has happened before." Everyone's expression changed. Fei Fei said, "Elder, since something like this has happened before, then the reason for the magical beasts in the behemoth forest should be clear, right? Why did you send me here to investigate?" "Because I'm not sure." The Thunder King said, "Although something like this happened in the past, it was a long time ago. We only learned about it from books. That's why we know a little more than you." "Books?" Shokuho Misaki tilted her head. "The books mention that something like this happened. What's the reason behind it?" The Thunder Monarch nodded slowly as he gazed in the direction of the giant beast forest. At this moment, the Thunder Monarch's face was no longer smiling. According to the books, when magical beasts gathered in the behemoth forest and chased away humans, it was always at the center of the behemoth forest. That's when the Beast King was born. Beast King. Everyone slowly repeated these two words. Their eyes were filled with doubt. Wu Yan's eyes flickered, and he continued. "What tier of demonic beast is qualified to be called a Beast King? What level of magical beast is qualified to be called a Beast King?" Lei Wang shook his head. "Let me tell you, magical beasts that are qualified to be Beast Kings are demigods." Chapter 529. Demigod Rank. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. Since ancient times, the Spalier world had given birth to 5 peak-level, god-level powerhouses. Everyone in the Spalier world knew about this. The people of the Spalier world also knew that many years ago, an unknown disaster had befallen these 5 god-level powerhouses. Since then, no more god-level powerhouses had appeared in the Spalier world. In today's Spalier world, only the demigod rank powerhouses, or in other words, powerhouses above level 90, could truly stand at the pinnacle of the Spalier world. And in the Spalier world, there were only 5 such powerhouses. The entire Spalier world surface area was so vast that it made people speechless. And the number of humans living in the Spalier world could be counted in the hundreds of millions. With such a terrifying number of people, there were only 5 demigods. One could only imagine how easily the demigod rank made people feel as if they were in a dream. But now, the Thunder King was saying that a demigod had been born in the behemoth forest. If the Thunder King, a level 9 powerhouse closest to the demigod rank, hadn't said this, perhaps even Wu Yin and the others who came from other worlds and didn't have as much respect for the demigod rank as they did for the Spalier world, they probably wouldn't have believed it so easily. You don't have to be so shocked. Didn't I just say it? This is only a guess. Apart from you, only us old fellows from the council know about this. The majority of people still don't know. The Thunder King sighed softly. No matter what, it's only something recorded in a book. Whether it's true or not still needs to be investigated. Is that so? Wu Yin looked in the direction of the behemoth forest, his gaze becoming incomparably sharp. It's just a guess. Is there a need for a level 9 powerhouse to investigate? That's because you still don't know what a demigod rank magical beast, also known as a Beast King, represents. When he mentioned the demigod rank, the Thunder King's tone became a little illusory. If the demigod rank was only a legend to others, then, to the Thunder King, it was a dream. Do you know why the birth of a Beast King caused the magical beasts in the behemoth forest to abandon their former enmity and gather together to fight against foreign enemies, and even chase the living people of the behemoth forest out of the behemoth forest? Wu Yan's Beast Kings in the Spalier World King's eyes, and they all shook their heads in unison. The Thunder King demigod rank, and demigod rank in the Beast King. The reason why demigod-level magical beasts are called beast kings is because demigod-level magical beasts are no less intelligent than humans. They can think and have their own ideas. At the same time, they have the ability to make all magical beasts obey them. The magical beasts will gather when a beast king is born and chase away foreign enemies together. This is the beast king's command. The Thunder King recalled the description of the Beast King that the three emperors of the three empires had about the Beast King during the council's meeting and said slowly, according to the records, when a peak level 9 magical beast successfully advances to become a demigod Beast King, it will begin to transform its body, making its body more suitable for displaying the strength of a demigod and more suitable for growth. During this period of time, the Beast King's strength will drop to an unprecedented low. In fact, it will be much weaker than before it advanced to the next level. Although it will not be completely defenseless, it will reach the point where even a level 9 powerhouse would be able to kill it. The Beast King has the ability to make magical beasts obey their commands. After advancing to the next level, due to the transformation of its body, its strength will drop even further. Shoko Hamasaki's eyes trembled when she heard this. She had a rough idea of what was going on. Could it be that the reason the magical beasts gathered together to chase away foreign enemies in the Behemoth Forest was to protect the Beast King? Exactly. The Thunder King's voice was as loud as thunder. The current situation in the Behemoth Forest is exactly the same as what is recorded in the books. That is why we thought of the Beast King. As you all know, the Council of Silveria World Institute is made up of the 12 most powerful factions in the world. When they realized that the Beast King might have been born, the 3 chairmen of the council, who were also the emperors of the 3 empires, immediately called for a meeting and explained the situation to us. That's how I came to the giant beast forest with my team. That's right. I'm the one who brought you here. Thunder King's gaze shot towards the giant beast forest like lightning. It was as if he could see through the forest's countless trees and reach the center. My main mission this time is to enter the giant beast forest. The moment I discover a beast king, I will kill it. What? Everyone turned pale with fright. Fei even shouted, "Old Chief, you can't do this. It's too dangerous. You may be powerful, but there are definitely level 9 magical beasts in the depths of the Behemoth Forest. If you go alone, you may be in trouble. Even so, we cannot afford to fail in killing the Beast King." The Thunder King waved his hand and raised his voice. It wasn't hard to hear the determination in his voice. "Old Chief," Fei panicked. She took 2 steps forward and grabbed the Thunder King's sleeve. Her face was red from her agitation. It was easy to imagine how she was feeling. Grandpa Thunder King. Wu Yan's gaze swept over the Thunder King's aged face. "Why must you kill the Beast King?" Hearing Wu Yan's question, the Thunder King's dignified face crumbled. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. "You don't know this, but the most frightening thing about the Beast King is not its demigod strength, but its ability to command magical beasts." The Thunder King looked around at everyone. After hesitating for a moment, he explained, "The Behemoth Forest is a paradise for magical beasts. Magical beasts are everywhere in the forest. Not only are there many of them, but their reproductive abilities are also very strong. This is also why the Behemoth Forest, a natural treasure trove, is still full of vitality even after so many years of exploitation by humans. Due to the law of the jungle in the Behemoth Forest is a world where the strong preys on the weak. Therefore, low-level magical beasts are constantly hunted down in the Behemoth Forest, while high-level magical beasts are rarely hunted down. As a result, there are likely to be more level 9 magical beasts in the Behemoth Forest than humans. However, under such circumstances, there has never been any mention of a demigod or higher magical beast. The Thunder King sighed. That's because a long time ago, the demigod-level beast kings and even the divine-level beast gods of the giant beast forest were all killed by the strongest humans. Hearing this, Wu Yan frowned. Why must we kill the demigod or higher magical beasts? It's because of the Behemoth Forest, the Thunder King said. The behemoth forest is a treasure trove that we humans cannot do without. Without it, the strength of humans and even other aspects will drop to a frightening level. The resources in the behemoth forest are very important to us humans. However, the Beast King's existence can command all the magical beasts. Because it has intelligence comparable to humans, the Beast King will not be willing to let its own kind become prey for other races. Therefore, once the Beast King is born, it can gather all the magical beasts to resist humans and completely take over the behemoth forest. When that time comes, it will not be as easy for humans to exploit the resources in the behemoth forest. Therefore, the Beast King's existence is a different kind of threat. The Thunder King's words caused everyone present to descend into silence. No one knew what else to say. Chapter 530. Night outside the behemoth forest. At this moment, a wooden fence had been erected in front of the supply town. Around the wooden fence, groups of knights were patrolling. It was obvious that they were patrolling to prevent the flow of people from entering the behemoth forest. After all, the current behemoth forest was no longer suitable for people to enter. It was still necessary to take some protective measures. Not far away, there was another place surrounded by wooden fences. Tents were set up one after another inside. Similarly, groups of knights were patrolling the area. That was a place for the majority of the troops, as well as the people here, to rest. It was night. Within a tent, Wu Yin was lying on a blanket. His hands were behind his head as he looked at the ceiling of the tent. He did not move for a long time. In his mind, he was recalling the words of the Thunder King today. Actually, Wu Yin felt a little helpless in his heart. He really did not expect that he would encounter such a situation right after returning from the world of the date battle. Originally, he had thought that the abnormality of the magical beast this time was merely a trivial matter. Before he came, he had not paid much attention to it. After he came, before he met the Thunder King, he also did not pay much attention to this matter. But who would have thought that in the end, the trivial matter he had thought of at the beginning had actually involved him to such an extent? The appearance of a rank 9 expert, the birth of a demigod rank magical Beast King. This series of events had already escalated to the point where he had no choice but to place it in his heart. If possible, Wu Yin doesn't want to get involved in this matter anymore. He's just a tier 8. He's still miles away from tier 9. He's still miles away from that so-called demigod tier. Now that he's involved in something that's so far away from these two terms, he's about to flip the table. He was still in high spirits over the fact that he got the Red Jade bloodline ability. He was even more excited over the fact that he got Flanderchan's Red Jade. Who would have thought that he would be able to enter tier 9 for a short period of time? Who would have thought that he would be able to do whatever he wanted once he entered Flanderchan's Red Jade mode? How could he not flip the table when he thought that he could do whatever he wanted once he entered Flanderchan's Red Jade mode? How could he not flip the table when he thought he could do whatever he wanted? If the development of this matter is as Lei Wang said, the birth of a Beast King, then this matter is out of his control. That's why Wu Yin didn't want to get involved in this matter. It's fine if it's him. No matter what, he can use the heaven-defying items in the system to escape. However, he still has the girls around him. Chuju Mikoto, Ikaros Shoko Misaki, Flandra-chan, Astria, Kanuhata Sai, Frenda, Takitsubu Riku, Misaka's sisters. Other than Kotori, Kurumi, Toka, and Yoshino, the most important people in Wu Yan's life are all around him. Even if he has the system's items as his trump card, he won't be able to take care of all of them. If something happens to any of them, Wu Yan will definitely go crazy. Even if he can use the summoning points to revive the girls, it's not an excuse for Wu Yan to let this happen. That's why Wu Yan didn't want to get involved. However, at the same time, Fei Fei was still here. Although he had only met the Thunder King once or twice, their relationship was quite close. Furthermore, the Thunder King was Lulu's grandfather. Could he just watch them stay here and not do anything? That night, Wu Yan's mind was filled with all sorts of worries. This is because the matter with the Beast King is only a guess. Only the Thunder King came to the meeting this time. Before the situation in the giant beast forest is clear, the Thunder King doesn't dare to act rashly. The giant beast forest 9th rank magical beasts are as rare as phoenix feathers and Chelan horns. But if 3 or 4 of them appear, the Thunder King will be surrounded and beaten to death. If one of them is higher ranked than the Thunder King, then one would be enough. Thus, the Thunder King didn't have any plans to act for the time being and stayed in the tent like everyone else, waiting for the decision to be made. During the day, Lei Wang said that the Ailu Empire's royal family, first family Lori family, second family Saito family, and third family Ladine family will each send out an elite team to investigate the situation in the Behemoth Forest. Tomorrow, Wu Yin and the rest will decide whether they want to go to the Behemoth Forest or not. Wu Yin bitterly smiled, cursing in his mind. Tomorrow, the elite team that will go to the Behemoth Forest will be led by Fei Fei, the Lori family's leader. If Fei Fei is going, how can he and the rest stay here and watch? He might be able to harden his heart and not get involved, giving Fei Fei something to save her life. But if Fei Fei agrees, he agrees, but what about Shuju? What about Makoto? Will they agree? The answer, of course, is no. Grandpa Lei Wang, you really are heartless. Wu Yin gritted his teeth. Aren't you afraid of burying Fei Fei, the pearl of the Lori family, in the Behemoth Forest? These words had just sounded when the Thunder King's familiar voice rang out in the tent. No, it's the opposite. I'm very afraid. The sudden voice made Wu Yan's heart skip a beat, causing him to jump up from the blanket. When he recognized the owner of the voice, Wu Yan grumbled. Grandpa Lei Wang, eavesdropping is not a good habit. No, I've just arrived and I've already heard what you said. That's why I answered you in passing. Following the voice, a breeze blew into Wu Yan's tent and stopped in front of Wu Yan. When the breeze dissipated, Lei Wang's figure appeared. As expected of a 9th stage powerhouse, seeing the way Lei Wang made his entrance, Wu Yan, who didn't sense any intruders, couldn't help but sigh in admiration as he looked at Lei Wang in awe. Little guy, it seems like you can't sleep either. Lei Wang chuckled and walked over to Wu Yan. He sat on the blanket facing Wu Yan. You can't sleep either, can you? Wu Yan scratched his cheeks and he grinned. Grandpa Lei, you must have something to tell me for calling me this late at night, right? Lei Wang nodded and looked at Wu Yan. I did have something to tell you, and it has something to do with what you just said. Something to do with what I just said? Wu Yan muttered. Is it about Fei Fei? That's right. Lei Wang raised his head and sighed. Perhaps you don't understand why I sent Fei Fei into the Behemoth Forest when the mission is so dangerous and important, right? Lei Wang didn't wait for Wu Yan's reply and asked, do you know who will be the leader of the scouting party sent by the Imperial family tomorrow? Wu Yan tilted his head in confusion. Then he thought of something and he blurted out, don't tell me it's Sylph? Congratulations, you got it right. Lei Wang's expression was bitter. You've seen Sylph's strength with your own eyes. She's more than enough to be the leader of the scouting party. That's why the Imperial family sent Sylph. But there's a problem. Sylph is a junior. If the Imperial family sends a junior to lead the scouting party, the other factions will be weaker than the Imperial family. That's why the Lori family isn't the only one. I'm afraid the other 2 families will send their juniors to lead the scouting party as well. No way. Wu Yan's jaw dropped. Look at the situation and you're still trying to fight back? Are you out of your mind? But that's the truth. Lei Wang smiled bitterly. He turned serious and looked at Wu Yan. Kid, you're a mysterious person. There are many things we don't know about you. I'm sure you're not simple. I believe the Behemoth Forest won't be able to keep you here. That's why I hope you can help me protect Fei Fei. Chapter 531. The night passed quietly after the bright moon crossed the entire sky and drew a semicircle across the night sky. Perhaps it's because demonic beasts need to sleep too. No demonic beasts dashed out of the Behemoth Forest during the night. The troops stationed outside the forest lost their purpose. The night was quiet. There wasn't much noise. When the night slowly faded and the sky started to brighten, the Behemoth Forest encampment was filled with people. In the middle of the open space in the encampment, a team was neatly lined up. There were about 100 people in this team. Compared to the entire encampment, this number was like a drizzle. However, everyone in this team had at least the strength of a Tier 7 expert. From the outside, They appeared to be neatly arranged. However, if one were to observe carefully, one would discover that this 100-man team was actually divided into 5 small groups. To be more precise, there were 4 large groups and 1 small group. At the front of the group, 4 young boys and girls stood at the very front, looking ahead. In the direction of their gazes, there was a figure standing in the wind, with his back facing them. He looked up at the sky, like a statue. For a long time, he didn't move at all. The 4 young men and women are familiar faces. One of them is Bing Ling, leader of Sea of Icicles, one of the 13 strongest factions in Spalier World Academy. The other one is Bai Shi, leader of Crimson Land, one of the 13 strongest factions in Spalier World. The last 2 are girls. They're Fei Fei, leader of Deadly Forest and Sylph, leader of Snow Song and princess of Ailu Empire. The 4 of them stood at the front of the team in a row. It was obvious that the 4 of them were the leaders of this team. However, in this team, there was a very conspicuous corner. There were 10 people who didn't fit in with this team. Wu Yin, Chuju Mikoto, Ikaros, Shokuo Misaki, Flanderchan, Astria, Kanuta Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku. The 10 of them are standing in a corner of the group. They didn't line up with the others. They just stood there casually. The 10 of them are very conspicuous. However, the person in question didn't care about it. He ignored everyone's gazes and looked at the figure with his back facing them. It's Lei Wang. Looking at the figure with her back facing him, Wu Yin acted the same as the others on the surface, but in his heart, his thoughts had already drifted away. Feeling the different auras of the 9 girls surrounding him, he felt extremely helpless. Last night, Wu Yin couldn't just sit by and watch Fei Fei enter the behemoth forest. Under Lei Wang's request, he agreed to follow Fei Fei and the others into the behemoth forest. Wu Yin didn't want to let Chuju and the others know about this. However, he knew they would find out sooner or later, so he didn't hide it from them. How should he put it? Well, the result was more or less what he expected. The girls all said they wanted to follow Wu Yin and Fei Fei into the behemoth forest. Wu Yin had expected this, but he couldn't do anything about it. After all, Wu Yin didn't want the girls to get involved in this, even though he knew it was impossible. Not only that, if Wu Yin expected Chuju, Mikoto, and the others' reaction, then when Flanderchan made a big fuss and said she wanted to go with them, Wu Yin really didn't expect it. Everyone knows that Ikaros is the strongest in the group on the surface, but the real strongest is Flanderchan. It's just that Flanderchan's power was sealed, and it hasn't been unsealed since. That's why everyone subconsciously ignored Flanderchan's existence until now, when they finally remembered Flanderchan's true strength. After a series of twists and turns, Flanderchan will be coming with them. This time, all 10 of them will be moving together. Chuju, Shokuho Misaki, Kanuhata Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku are all Tier 7. Wu Yin, Mikoto, Ikaros, and Astria are all Tier 8. Their hidden trump card is the Tier 9 Flanderchan. With this combination, the 10 of them will be more than enough even if they don't move together with the expedition team. They stood in the center of the base with the expedition team. They were surrounded by a large group of people. Everyone stood there quietly. They didn't say a word. It's as if they're waiting for something to happen. The sun rose from the other side of the behemoth forest and shone down on everyone. Lei Wang, who had his back facing everyone, slowly turned around. He took a deep breath and scanned the expedition team in front of him. After a while, he opened his mouth. I want to talk about how important this mission is. You should know how important each of you are in your respective families and organizations. Due to various reasons, this mission has fallen on your shoulders. Even I don't know what will happen when you leave. What I want to say is, the Thunder King paused for a moment and waved his hand to the side. His casual but solemn words reverberated in the air above the encampment, entering the ears of everyone present and also into their hearts. You must come back alive. Everyone's hearts trembled violently when they heard the Thunder Emperor's words. The entire elite exploration team felt a fire burning in their hearts, causing the blood in their bodies to heat up. Thousands of words were finally condensed into a single sentence. Yes. The Thunder King nodded and turned around. Once again, He had his back facing the crowd. Go. This time there was no reply. The elite expedition party, led by Sylph, Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi, walked past Lei Wang and entered the giant beast forest. Their silhouettes gradually disappeared from sight. Wu Yin spoke after the expedition team left. Let's go as well. The girls nodded. Under the watchful eyes of the rest of the team and the Misaka sisters, they followed Lei Wang into the giant beast forest and stood beside him. Lei Wang saw Flandrachan being held by Chuju and frowned. He looked at Wu Yin in dissatisfaction. Little guy, are you going to bring this little girl with you? Wu Yin glanced at Flandrachan and nodded. Lei Wang's frown deepened. He opened his mouth to say something, but was interrupted by Wu Yin. Grandpa Lei Wang, don't worry. Wu Yin smiled at Lei Wang. Do I look like an unreasonable person to you? Lei Wang was taken aback. He lowered his head and muttered to himself. He knew that Wu Yin was hiding a lot of things. His abilities are definitely not simple. He must have his own plans for bringing the little girl in. He could only nod helplessly. Be careful. Wu Yin nodded at Lei Wang with the other 9 girls. He then walked into the behemoth forest without looking back. The group of 10 disappeared into the greenery. Chapter 532. The Behemoth Forest is a famous training ground in the Spalier world. Everyone with a bit of strength has been here before. The same goes for the entire expedition team. Fei Fei got to know Wu Yin here. The Behemoth Forest is a forbidden area. Only the most powerful would dare to enter the forest. However, the outer perimeter is a familiar place to anyone who has been here once or twice. Even Wu Yin. That's why even though the environment of the Behemoth Forest is the same as before, everyone noticed something different. It's not the environment, it's the atmosphere. The outer perimeter is where demonic beasts of rank 5 and below roam. According to the rules of the Behemoth Forest, the higher the rank of the demonic beast, the closer to the center of the Behemoth Forest. Vice versa, the further away the demonic beast will be. That's why Lei Wang said the demonic beast king would be born in the center of the Behemoth Forest. However, it was different now. In the past, the highest level magical beasts in the periphery would not exceed level 5. However, they had only walked for less than 10 minutes, and they had already encountered no less than 10 level 7 magical beasts. In the past, a rank 7 demonic beast would be a living coffin for anyone who entered the giant beast forest. Unfortunately, this time, it's not just any normal person. It's an elite team made up of the 4 strongest factions of Ailu Empire. In this group, the weakest was at level 60, and there were 100 of them. The strongest was at level 8, and they could easily kill level 7 magical beasts even if they ganged up on them. But this time, they didn't come here to train, nor to hunt magical beasts. Most importantly, they came here to explore. Perhaps it was because of this reason that the 3 great clans and the imperial family chose to let the younger generation lead the group. Killing these demonic beasts for their own purposes is a thankless task. They might even attract the attention of other demonic beasts. Sylph, Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi immediately signaled their subordinates to use stealth to avoid the demonic beasts in the area. They quietly made their way into the forest. In fact, if they really wanted to use stealth to achieve the goal of scouting, then 100 people would be a little too much. The fewer people there were, the harder it would be to be discovered. It was not that the Thunder King had not thought of this problem, but when he thought about it, all the magical beasts nowadays were in groups. Once they were discovered, if there were too few people, then all their efforts would be in vain. Therefore, the Thunder King had chosen 100 people, which was not a small number, to be the size of the scouting team. The magical beasts in the outer perimeter were not enough to catch the eyes of the elite exploration team. Their infiltration was very smooth. Up until now, they had not been discovered by any magical beasts. The magical beasts in the outer perimeter were the areas with the highest number of magical beasts in the entire giant beast forest. Towards the end, the number of magical beasts slowly decreased. This lessened the burden on everyone. Since they're going in stealth, there's no need to talk to anyone. Up until now, The entire team of 100 people is silent. Aside from some light footsteps, there's no other sound. Even Flanderchan, who's in Wu Yan's embrace, is keeping her mouth shut. She doesn't dare to make a sound. She's afraid of disturbing something. As time passes, the sky is getting brighter. The light in the behemoth forest is glaring. Rays of sunlight shone on the ground or on everyone's faces. It's a sign that they've been traveling for quite some time. Fei Fei and the others are walking at the front. They're constantly looking around. They're afraid they'll miss something. They're also prepared to give orders to the people behind them. Until a certain moment, Fei Fei saw a wide open space in a corner. She waved at Sylph, Bing Ling, and Bishi and pointed at the open space. The three of them nodded in understanding. Together with Fei Fei, they led everyone to the open space. After they scanned the area, they nodded to each other. Bing Ling and Bishi immediately signaled to their subordinates. A portion of the people who understood the two's gestures began to separate from the group. They went to each corner of the open space and surrounded it. Then these people closed their eyes and chanted incantations. Under everyone's gaze, the incantation quietly fell, and a glass-like barrier rose from behind these people, fused together, and finally gathered into a square, covering the entire open space. Everyone's expression instantly relaxed when they saw the barrier covering the open space. Even Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi are no exception. Only Sylph's expression didn't change at all. No one can tell what she's thinking. All right, let's rest for a bit before we continue our journey, Fei Fei said to everyone present. Her voice was very loud and clear. It directly broke the dead silence that had lasted until now. From this, it could be seen that the enchantment should have the effect of soundproofing. After Fei Fei finished speaking, a quarter of the people accepted the order and left. However, the remaining 3/4 of the people acted as if they didn't hear it. Fei Fei didn't care about this at all and just walked away. After Fei Fei left, Sylph nodded at the rest of the people. Another quarter of the people left, while the remaining half went to rest under Bing Ling and Bishi's agreement. Seeing this, Wu Yin curled his lips in disdain. This is why he hates these big families. They're all on the same side, but they can't even achieve the most basic level of unity. At the most critical moment, they're still thinking about their own problems. When they do things, Wu Yin can't help but feel pain in his ass. They're even more troublesome than being at Sundara. How troublesome? Of course, Wu Yin didn't say anything. He didn't care about other people's lives anyway. He's only here to protect Fei Fei. After Fei Fei gave her order, she walked towards Wu Yin and the others. Yin, Chuja Mikoto, and everyone else, you should rest for a bit too. That's great. Shoko Hamasaki's face was flushed red. She was panting heavily as she complained. We've been walking for so long, yet we still have to be careful. I'm exhausted. Mikoto glanced at Shoko Hamasaki with a gloating expression. Shoko Hamasaki was annoyed, but she couldn't say anything. Who told her to be an exercise idiot? Shokoho, it's time for you to train your body. Chuju said seriously. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Shokoho Misaki gritted her teeth and humphed. I don't need to train my body. I have a smart brain. That's more than enough for me. Everyone laughed when they heard the annoyance in Shokoho Misaki's voice. The girl's giggles attracted everyone's attention, including Sylph, Bing Ling, and Bishi. Fei Fei stopped laughing after a while. She looked at Flandra-chan in Wu Yan's arms with a serious expression. I didn't get the chance to ask you earlier. Yin, why did you bring Flan here? Don't you know how dangerous the behemoth forest is? It's been like this for a long time now. What if we can't take care of her when she's in danger? Flan doesn't need anyone to take care of her. Flandra-chan pouted unhappily. Flan is strong too. Did you hear that? Wu Yin looked at Fei Fei with a half smile. That's how it is you. Fei Fei rolled her eyes at Wu Yin. She turned around and sulked. It's for everyone's sake. Fei Fei didn't know that Flandra-chan was telling the truth. Chapter 533. Sylph's icy blue eyes stopped on Wu Yan's group for a moment before she walked over. Bing Ling and Bishi looked at each other. They hesitated for a moment before following Sylph. Everyone's attention was on Sylph and the other two walking towards Wu Yan's group. Wu Yan's group also noticed the trio's approach. Their chatter slowly died down as they looked at the trio in silence. Sylph looked at Wu Yan, Mikoto, and Ikaros before her gaze landed on Astria. Bingling and Bishi also looked at Sylph. However, Bingling's gaze was on Wu Yan, while Bishi's gaze was on Chuju. The results of the last Academy Grand Tournament weren't only spread within Silverio World Institute. Even the outer court students knew about it. After all, Silverio World Institute had a very high status, and since the Academy Grand Tournament was a competition between the students of the major factions, it was only natural that the major factions would know about it. When Sylph, Bingling, and Bishi looked at Astria, Wu Yan, and Chuju respectively, everyone knew what was going on. Wu Yan and Chuju looked at each other before they looked at the trio in front of them. Both sides didn't say anything. Astria tilted her head when she saw Sylph looking at her. After a while, a question mark appeared above her head. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Astria pouted when she saw Sylph's emotionless stare. She didn't seem to be faking it. The atmosphere in the room instantly broke into two halves. Everyone felt a sense of helplessness when they saw Sylph's emotionless stare. Sylph, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind at all. "Next time, I will definitely beat you, huh?" Astria flinched. She didn't understand what Sylph meant. Sylph didn't seem to want to say anything else. She turned around and left the corner. "What the hell?" Mikoto looked at Sylph's departing figure with an annoyed expression. She clenched her fist and said angrily, "I should be the one saying that. Next time, I will definitely beat you." Sylph didn't hear Mikoto's words. She walked to a corner and closed her eyes to rest. Bingling and Bishi took a deep look at Wu Yan and Chuju before they left without saying anything. Astria wrinkled her nose. Her dissatisfaction deepened. She stuck out her tongue at Sylph, Bingling, and Bishi and made a funny face. "What a bunch of weird people." Wu Yan shook his head with a smile. He didn't pay attention to the trio's sudden actions. It might seem strange to an outsider, but those who are in the know that they're just unhappy about their loss. Following this scene, everyone in the open space began to tidy up and rest. Perhaps it was because of the previous scene, everyone knew that there was a barrier around them, so they wouldn't alert the enemy. However, they also subconsciously lowered their voices, causing the open space to be filled with whispers. After resting for about half an hour, Sylph, Fei, Bingling, and Bishi stood up. They looked at each other and gave out orders. Prepare to depart. After the four gave their orders, everyone put away their things and gathered together. Then, the person who set up the barrier came to the front of the barrier and removed it. The glass-like barrier was like a tide. It slowly fell down. Not long after, the situation outside appeared in everyone's eyes. When the barrier fell, Wu Yan and Sylph's expression changed. "Not good. Be careful." Suddenly, 5 blurry black shadows, mixed with wind pressure, whistled and arrived in front of those people who had removed the barrier. With a trace of suppressed roar, they pounced on these people. These people had just smelled a trace of fishy stench when their vision turned black. Then they felt a pain in their head and completely lost their consciousness. Seeing these heads disappear from their heads and blood spurting out from their necks, everyone present was stunned. They stood there stupidly, watching these headless bodies fall to the ground. They did not have the slightest reaction, so much so that when the 5 blurry shadows continued to pounce on them, they did not react at all. "Are you guys stupid? Hurry up and be on guard." Seeing the dumbfounded look on everyone's face, Wu Yan's temper flared. He yelled at them to bring them back to their senses. By then, the shadow had already pounced on the nearest person. Just as these people were about to step into the path of those in front of them, Bingling with his dagger and Bishi with his sword appeared in front of the shadows. Both of them swung their weapons at the same time and cut 2 of the shadows in half. At the same time, a black sword, a dochi blade glow, and an ice blade flashed from behind everyone. They brushed past everyone's bodies and landed on the remaining 3 black figures. The next moment, similar to the 2 black figures in front, the three black figures were cut into two halves and landed on the ground. Only bright red blood droplets exploded in midair and splashed onto the stunned expressions of those people who had nearly lost their heads. It was only now that everyone could clearly see the true appearance of the black shadows. They were 5 completely black demonic wolves. Wu Yin sneered when he saw the people's dumbfounded expressions. He waved his hand and closed the gate of Babylon behind him. Then, he turned to Sylph and Fei Fei, who have put down their staffs, and night elves. "So this is your so-called elite scouting party?" Sylph and Fei Fei lowered their heads when they heard Wu Yan's words. The rest of the scouting party also came back to their senses. Their eyes were filled with fear and shame. They lowered their heads because they couldn't refute Wu Yan's words. Bing Ling and Bishi sighed when they saw this. They silently returned to Sylph and Fei Fei's side. For a moment, everyone was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Wu Yan shook his head and snorted coldly. Now is not the time for you to reflect. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Sylph and the others also realized that something is going on. They quickly looked outside the clearing and saw Black Demon Wolf, level 60, level 68. There are 30 level 60 to level 68 rank 7 Black Demon Wolves surrounding the clearing. They are slowly approaching. Everyone except for Wu Yan's group and Fei Fei's group sucked in a breath of cold air. We're surrounded. Shokohome Misaki gloated at his misfortune as she stated the cruel truth. Her expression didn't look relaxed at all. Damn it, when did this happen? Bing Ling gritted his teeth as he tightened his grip on his daggers. 30 ranked 7 demon wolves are nothing to the elite expedition party. However, there are 3 level 68 demon wolves among them. Fei Fei and the others are worried. They don't have the system's perception, so they can't tell the specific level of the demon wolves. However, they can sense the demon wolves' strength from their auras. Other than Sylph, everyone else in the party has to be wary. The members of the expedition party have regained some of their elite demeanor. Their expressions became serious, and their impetus and mana fluctuated. They are ready to fight at any moment. Chapter 534. As the Black Demon Wolf encirclement closed in, the members of the expedition team also retreated to the center of the clearing. After a while, less than 100 members of the expedition team were squeezed back to back in the center of the clearing. They watched as the Black Demon Wolf encircled them from all directions. Sweat began to form on their foreheads. Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi looked at the 3 black demon wolves that were slightly larger than the other demon wolves. However, their auras were much stronger than the other black demon wolves. Their expressions were serious as they gripped their weapons. Everyone, get ready to break out. Following this command, the wolves seemed to have realized something. Their footsteps quickened. In the blink of an eye, the wolves arrived at the clearing. Finally, at a certain moment, one of the black demon wolf raised its head and howled. It pounced towards the expedition team. This action seemed to have caused a chemical reaction. All of the black demon wolf howled and turned into shadows as they pounced towards the expedition team. Attack! Fei Fei shouted. She pointed her night elf at the wolves. The magicians who had prepared their spells in advance immediately released their spells. The spells landed on the black demon wolf's body. Kill! Bing Ling and Bishi shouted coldly. They jumped out from the crowd and charged towards the black demon wolf that wasn't hit by the spells. The rest of the warriors did the same. They separated themselves from the crowd and charged towards the black demon wolf. The sound of sharp weapons piercing through the wolf's body echoed in the clearing. The sound of weapons being pulled out followed by the sound of weapons being pulled out. Blood splattered all over the ground. In just a short moment, the ground was already stained with blood. The members of the elite expedition team were divided into 2 rows. The warriors stood at the front and assassinated the dark demon wolves that approached them, while the magicians stood at the back. They were in charge of support and ranged attacks to prevent other dark demon wolves from taking advantage of the opportunity to attack. Weapons and magic flew in the air, landing on the dark demon wolves one after another. Finally, the dark demon wolves were stopped. Yan, on Wu Yan's side, Chuju, Mikoto, and Shokuho Misaki turned towards Wu Yin, who was holding Flandre-chan. They called out to him softly. It's obvious they want Wu Yin to make the decision. Wu Yin narrowed his eyes and glanced at the expedition team. He frowned slightly. It looks like other than Sylph, they're in a tough spot. Let's attack. Mikoto's tea-colored eyes stared straight at Wu Yin. Her forehead flashed with electricity. Her tone was filled with eagerness. It looks like she can't wait any longer. Wu Yin pondered for a moment and waved his hand. Let's attack. If we let them deal with it alone, I'm afraid there will be casualties. Mikoto's lips curled into a grin. She's very pleased with Wu Yan's decision. She had an excited expression on her face, but before she could express it, Kinuhita Sai stuffed it back down her throat. Super, don't attack. Kinuhita Sai took a few steps forward and smiled at the approaching black demon wolf. These super weak wolves aren't strong enough for you guys to super attack. Leave it to me. You? Wu Yin flinched. He's surprised and surprised. You want to deal with it yourself? Of course, I won't be the only one. Kinuhita Sai patted her chest and pointed at Frenda and Takitsubu Riku. The three of us will attack together. Just the three of you? Wu Yin hesitated. The three of you are only tier 7, right? The opponents are 30 tier 7 demonic beasts. Can you guys handle it? In the end, don't underestimate us. Frenda winked at Wu Yin. No matter what, we're a team of 3. If we work together, our strength will multiply. He just super watch. Kinuhita Sai stopped explaining and looked at Takitsubu Riku. Takitsubu, I'm counting on you. Takitsubu Riku's face turned serious and she nodded firmly. Leave it to me. Okay. Wu Yin looked at them seriously and he smiled. Let me see how much you girls have grown. Kinuhita Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku looked at each other and smiled. Then, Kinuhita Sai walked out, while Frenda stood in front of Takitsubu Riku. Takitsubu Riku closed her eyes. When Takitsubu Riku opened her eyes again, her pupils were trembling like pearls. The scene in front of her slowly turned transparent until all that was left was a few lines. Looking at these lines, Takitsubu Riku's heart stirred. She touched these lines, and the color of the lines suddenly deepened. Kinuhita Sai, who was walking forward, seemed to have sensed something. Her lips curled into a smile, and she stopped. She raised her hand and pulled it behind her. A stream of air invisible to the naked eye wrapped around her tiny fist. Looking at the wolves not far away, Kinuhita Sai's eyes turned sharp, and she let out a roar before punching out. Boom! A clear, vibrating sound rang in everyone's ears, causing both humans and wolves to subconsciously stop what they were doing. However, in the next second, a black demon wolf's body seemed to have been hit by a heavy hammer. It let out a blood-curdling scream and was sent flying. It smashed into a tree trunk, unable to get up again. This sudden turn of events startled everyone present. However, Kinuhita Sai acted as if she did not see anything. In a flash, she appeared in front of everyone and once again raised her fist and smashed it onto the ground. Boom! The invisible force directly affected the ground, causing it to tremble and collapse. Cracks spread out like a spider web. Shortly after, the ground collapsed. Pieces of rocks protruded out and smashed into the pack of wolves. Many of the dark demon wolves were smashed into the cracks in the ground, causing their bodies to sway and fall into the cracks in the ground. What welcomed them was Dolly, whose body was swollen and twisted, appearing at the bottom of the crack. Boom, 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 boom. The series of unforeseen events stunned the members of the expedition team, who were originally planning to fight to the death. Looking at the ruins not far away, they could only feel their heads spinning. Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi looked at each other and stared at the petite figure standing in front of them in shock. At this moment, the petite figure that was standing in front of them had a different kind of sturdiness to it. Fei's beautiful eyes were half closed. She put down her night elf and looked at Kinuhita Sai's back. She muttered softly, "So, she's this strong. So, this is the strength of an elder of Starlight Queen?" Bishy shook his head with a bitter smile. Oh my god, how old is she? Even I have less than a 50% chance of winning against her. Kinuhada, Saya. Bingling stared at the front and took a deep breath. He felt bitter in his heart. As expected, he had been a frog in a well all this time. Even Sylph stared at Kinuhada Sai for a long time. Her face was expressionless, but no one knew what she was thinking. Kinuhada Sai was the only one who knew her own strength. She looked at Frenda and Takitsubu Riku and gave them a thumbs up. Well done, Frenda. Takitsubu. Indeed, without Takitsubu Riku's ability, with Kinuhada Sai's ability, how would she be able to unleash her invincible might and smash all the wolves into the ground? Without Frenda's bomb, she wouldn't have been able to deal with so many black demon wolf in such a short amount of time. There were 30 black demonic wolves in there. All of them were demonic beasts of the same tier as Kinuhada Sai. Among them, there were even 3 that had reached level 68. Kinuhada Sai wouldn't have been able to deal with them in such a short amount of time without Frenda or Takitsubu Riku. Looking at Kinuhada Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku hugging each other, Wu Yin chuckled. He felt comforted. Chapter 535. After Takitsubu Riku's ability reached LVL 5, she gained the ability to interfere with the personal reality of others. Through 8M, she was able to manipulate the personal reality of others. She was able to enhance, weaken, exchange, and change other people's abilities. She was even able to engrave the personal reality of others and grant them abilities. Although it might seem like Kinuhada Sai was the only one who did all the work, the one who contributed the most was actually Takitsubu Riku. After reaching Tier 7, Kinuhada Sai's ability also reached LVL 5. But no matter what, she was still only LVL 65. Dealing with 1 or 2 black demon wolf wouldn't be a problem, but dealing with 30 of them at once would be a little overconfident. However, under the interference of Takitsubu Riku's ability, Kinuhada Sai's ability was amplified in an instant. Her strength was also greatly increased. That was why she was able to kill a black demon wolf with a single punch, shatter the ground, and force all the black demon wolves into the crevice. After that, Takitsubu Riku interfered with Frenda's personal reality, allowing Frenda to obtain the same spatial ability as Shiroi Kuriko. This allowed Frenda to move a large number of bomb dolls into the crevice and detonate them. That was how the 30 black demon wolf were dealt with in a short amount of time. Without a doubt, this victory belonged to Kinuhada Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku. If any of them were missing, they wouldn't have been able to achieve this result. Of course, the black demon wolf couldn't react in time to Kinuhada Sai's and Frenda's methods and were caught off guard. But more importantly, the 3 of them were able to work together perfectly. Indeed, just like what Frenda said, they were a team of 3. If they worked together, their strength wouldn't just be multiplied, it would be multiplied by who knows how many times. Right now, Takitsubu Riku and Frenda's strength was already on par with Mujino Shizuri. Perhaps they were slightly weaker, but with Takitsubu Riku's addition, 2 Mujino Shizuris might not even be enough to take on one of them. One has to admit that Takitsubu Riku is a freak of nature. While Kinuhada Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku were celebrating their victory, Shokuho Misaki walked up to Wu Yan's side and chuckled. How is it? Are you relieved now? It's still too early. Even with the 3 of us working together, we're still far from it. Wu Yan pursed his lips, but he still had a grin on his face. Shokuho Misaki couldn't help but snicker inside. Yan. Fei walked in front of Wu Yan and company. It's all thanks to you guys this time. Otherwise, we would have definitely suffered a lot of casualties. Hearing that, the members of the expedition team couldn't help but fall silent. In terms of numbers and strength, they were no weaker than the Dark Demon Wolves. The Dark Demon Wolves had 3 peak Tier 7 existences, while they had Fei, Bingling, Bishi, and Fei, who were peak Tier 7 existences. On top of that, they had Sylph, who was a Tier 8 existence. However, in a real battle, Wolves are ferocious creatures, and demonic beasts are even more so. The dark demon wolves are not afraid of death, but they were caught off guard because of a little change. This situation is very similar to when the dark demon wolves were fighting against Kinuhata just now. If the battle continues, victory is assured. However, just like what Feifei said, there will be a lot of casualties. So this is your so-called elite expedition team? These words, filled with contempt and disdain, kept ringing in the minds of the members of the elite exploration team, causing them to clench their fists tightly, their hearts filled with unwillingness. They're stronger and have more numbers than the Black Demon Wolf Pack. Yet, they ended up in such a state. Unwillingness is a given. Well, they can't be blamed for this. Only Wu Yan's group, Sylph, Feifei, Bingling, and Bishi know what they are supposed to investigate. Normal members like them don't have access to such important information. Even after they entered the Behemoth Forest and noticed that the Behemoth Forest is different from before, they didn't have a sense of danger. That's why they ended up in this mess. 30 class, 7 demonic beasts appearing at the outskirts of the Behemoth Forest is an impossible feat in the past. Plus, they didn't have a sense of danger and were caught off guard. Naturally, their practicality was reduced by more than one level. Looking at Feifei, who went over to thank Wu Yan, the members of the expedition team felt very aggrieved. After all, they didn't need to do something like this. At this moment, all of them repeatedly urged themselves in their hearts. They couldn't embarrass themselves anymore. Otherwise, they would end up like their comrade who had his head bitten off and fell to the ground. Bingling and Bishi finally laughed when they saw the changes in the expressions of the expedition team members. Sylph also nodded. This is exactly what they wanted to see. Wu Yan glanced at the people over there. He waved his hand at Feifei, who came over to thank him. Don't thank me. I didn't do anything. If you want to thank someone, why don't you thank them? Thank them. Wu Yan then pointed at Kinuhata, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku. Feifei also looked at them. At this point, how could Feifei not know that everything that happened just now was actually caused by the three of them? She said in a serious tone, "Thank you. Super, you're welcome." Kinuhata, Sai, straightened her back. Although she said that, her face was filled with pride. Frenda, who was standing by the side, grabbed her beret and exchanged glances with Takitsubu Riku. She felt a little embarrassed. Feifei saw the trio's reaction and felt happy. She secretly sighed. No matter how strong they are, they're still children, but Feifei looked at Kinuhata, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku, and shook her head with a bitter smile. I didn't expect you three to be so strong. Wu Yan smiled faintly and waved his hand at Feifei. Feifei, don't overestimate them. They're still far from it, far from it. Feifei was stunned. She turned her body to the side and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If this is called far from it, then wouldn't we have lived for nothing? Even I don't have the confidence to win against Sai. You don't expect too much. That's right, that's right. Kinuhata, Sai, and Frenda nodded their heads. They didn't want their hard work to be erased by Wu Yan's words. You two still have the nerve to agree. Wu Yan stared at Kinuhata, Sai, and Frenda fiercely. Do you think you've done well? You destroyed the ground and detonated the bombs. With such a big commotion, aren't you telling the demonic beasts in the Behemoth Forest that we're here? Kinuhata, Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku were stunned. Wu Yan didn't feel good about it. Don't tell me you've forgotten everything because you're too eager to perform? The three of them opened their mouths and laughed dryly. The answer was obvious. Wu Yan's mouth twitched. Indeed, this place is not suitable for us to stay any longer. Feifei nodded and looked at Sylph. Sylph and the rest nodded and turned towards the direction of the expedition team. We can't stay here any longer. We have to leave this place as soon as possible. Everyone quickly nodded their heads and gathered together. They immediately left the ruined land. Not long after they left, another wave of the magical beast army arrived. After learning their lesson, everyone in the expedition team was on high alert. They didn't dare to let their guard down. They carefully hid themselves in every corner of the Behemoth Forest. They were slower than when they came, but they were much more careful as they made their way deeper into the forest. At this point, there were no longer any magical beasts below grade 7. Moreover, they were all gathered together in groups of 2s and 3s. Their aura was incomparably terrifying. This caused the elite scouts to feel a chill in their hearts and become even more vigilant. Chapter 536. They are heading towards the center of the behemoth forest. The closer they get to the depths of the forest, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. At first, the magical beasts that appeared around them were in groups of 2 or 3. Now, as the elite expedition team and Wu Yan's group got closer to the depths of the behemoth forest, the number of magical beasts around them decreased. Now, they can only see 1 or 2 scattered magical beasts every once in a while. However, this situation didn't make them happy. Instead, it made them feel uneasy. In the behemoth forest, the magical beasts are no longer hunting each other and treating each other as food. They are gathering together to chase away the humans in the behemoth forest. Even the magical beasts are gathering in groups of 2 or 3. But now, the magical beasts that appeared around them are scattered. They didn't gather with other magical beasts at all. What does this mean? It means that they don't need to gather with other magical beasts at all. In fact, this was indeed the case. Almost every one of these scatter magical beasts had the strength of the peak of the 7th stage, the kind that was only 1 step away from the 8th stage. This situation made everyone's heart heavy. This means that if they continue forward, they might encounter a rank 8 magical beast. They would rather encounter a group of class 7 magical beasts than a single class 8 magical beast. At the class 7 and class 8 magical beasts, the gap between class 7 and class 8 magical beasts was unimaginably large. If the expedition party were to encounter a group of class 7 demonic beasts, as long as their numbers weren't too ridiculous, they could still hold their own. However, if they were to encounter a class 8 demonic beast, without Sylph's help, they would have to sacrifice their own lives to have a chance of winning. Not everyone can be like Wu Yin and challenge those of a higher rank. At least in the Spalier world, no one has heard of such a thing. So, in a way, Wu Yin is also a freak. At a certain moment, Wu Yan's footsteps suddenly stopped. His eyes narrowed as he looked in a certain direction. What's wrong? The women stopped and looked at Wu Yan. Wu Yan didn't answer their question. Instead, he narrowed his eyes as if he saw something. At this time, the entire expedition team also noticed Wu Yan's strange behavior. They stopped and looked at Wu Yan in confusion. Seeing Wu Yan's strange behavior, Fei Fei wanted to ask him something. Sylph's eyes narrowed as well. She turned around and looked at the direction Wu Yan was looking at. Be careful. Sylph's reminder. Everyone's heart was in their mouth. They calmed down and carefully observed their surroundings. Soon, a presence with dense mana fluctuations appeared in everyone's senses. It's a blurry silhouette. As soon as it entered everyone's sensing range, it seemed to have noticed them. It's rushing towards them at an alarming speed. Not far away, a green figure silently appeared on a tree about 30 meters away from the crowd. After attracting everyone's attention, the figure flashed and instantly closed the distance between them by more than 10 meters, exposing his full appearance in front of everyone's eyes. It's a small civet cat. Its body is covered in dark green fur that complements the surrounding trees very well. Its eyes are purplish red, and there's an ominous glint in them. There's a faint trace of pressure emanating from it. This raccoon was only about a meter long, but it gave everyone a lot of pressure, because, from its speed and aura, they could tell that this was at least a peak 7th level magical beast. Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi's eyes narrowed when they saw the civet cat. Blue thorny cat. Blue thorny cat. Level 69-inch everyone, be careful. Blue thorny cats are different from other demonic beasts. They don't have a large body, but they're extremely fast. If you're not careful, you'll be dead by the time you lose consciousness. Everyone be on guard. Fei Fei's cold warning caused everyone's heart to skip a beat. They quickly raised their weapons and stared at the cat, afraid that they'll lose track of it. While Fei Fei was talking, the blue thorny cat turned into a flash of green lightning and pounced towards the closest person to it. It's Fei Fei. Its two front claws popped out, and its greenish-black fur emitted a layer of light that was not bright, but was like a ripple of water. Its body pounced out in the air, and it actually changed direction on its own, bypassing the trees in front of it and directly pouncing towards Fei Fei, causing Fei Fei's expression to change. In a place where no one was paying attention to, a pair of extremely narrow wings were slowly flapping on the blue thorny cat's ribs. The wings were as small as a thumb and couldn't be used for flight. However, when the blue thorny cat moved at high speed, it could help it change direction in mid-air. Fei Fei's night elf was already out of its sheath. Facing the blue thorny cat's attack, Fei Fei didn't even try to dodge. Instead, she clasped her blade in front of her chest, and a large amount of Do Chi light up. This is Fei Fei's proudest skill, Do Chi Sword Ray. With a swing of her sword, the Do Chi Sword Ray pierced towards the side of the blue thorny cat. At the same time, the blue thorny cat changed direction in midair and met the Do Chi Sword Ray head-on. From the looks of it, it was as if the blue thorny cat was the one who sent itself to the door. Facing Fei Fei's Do Chi Sword Ray, the blue thorny cat's eyes turned cold. It reached out one of its front paws and slapped the Do Chi Sword Ray into pieces. "Shit!" Bishi exclaimed. "This blue thorny cat's strength is not inferior to its speed. Fei Fei won't be able to win against it alone. Let's go together. We don't have time to waste here," Bing Ling said bluntly. A pair of daggers appeared in his hand. Bishi agreed with Bing Ling's idea. He gripped his knight's sword, and the two of them charged towards Fei Fei. Not far away, Wu Yin, Chuju, Mikoto, Ikaros, Shokohum Misaki, Flandrachan, Astria, Kinuhida Sai, Frenda, and Takitsubu Riku were standing around a tree. They were watching Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi fight the blue thorny cat. Mikoto was the first to speak. "Yin, are you not going to help?" "No need." Wu Yin rejected Mikoto's suggestion without hesitation. Mikoto was a little hesitant. "But if that's the case, won't those people gossip?" Wu Yin grinned, and he gestured at Sylph with his lips. "Look, Sylph didn't do anything either, right?" "Yep." Chuju tilted her head in confusion. Why didn't Sylph do anything? Didn't she want to end this as soon as possible? "I think." Shoko Misaki stroked her blonde hair and smiled. "Sylph is conserving her strength, right?" "That's right." "That's right." Wu Yin nodded. His expression turned serious as he looked at the battle ahead. "We'll be venturing deeper into the behemoth forest. There will definitely be powerful demonic beasts there, tier 8 at least. Under such circumstances, Sylph has to conserve her strength as long as she doesn't meet the toughest opponent. She can't waste her mana and stamina on these appetizers. Otherwise, when she meets an opponent that requires her full strength, she'll be in danger due to wasting her energy. If that happens, not only will Sylph die, the others will also die." Hinajiku and Mikoto both nodded in understanding. "Does that mean we have to conserve our strength as well?" "It's more or less necessary." Wu Yin sighed. "Even though we don't have mana to expend, we have to conserve our strength, even if it's just a little bit." The girls nodded in understanding. Chapter 537. Whoa! The green thorny cat's shrill cry echoed throughout the forest. Its cry was like a wolf's howl, and its fleshy wings flapped gently. In the next moment, it moved. With lightning speed, the blue thorny cat dashed through the forest, its forelimbs constantly kicking against the surrounding tree trunks. Using the momentum, it dodged to the other side. Everyone only had time to see a flash of green light in the forest before it appeared in front of Fei Fei. The members of the elite expedition team couldn't help but grip the armaments in their hands so tightly that their veins were bulging. However, they didn't feel anything at all as they stared at the green light moving through the forest. They were afraid that it would appear in front of them in the next second. The green thorny cat's speed was too fast. It was too fast for the eyes to take in. The moment it made its move, it had already pounced forward. However, it left behind a similar silhouette in its original position. The silhouette only disappeared when it arrived in front of Fei Fei. Even Fei Fei, Bing Ling, and Bishi could only react when the green thorny cat was right in front of them. The members of the expedition party could only see the green thorny cat pouncing on Fei Fei. When Fei Fei blocked the attack, the green thorny cat leaped away from her and continued to pounce on her relentlessly. If Wei Yan's group and Sylph were only observing the situation to preserve their strength, the members of the expedition party didn't know how to intervene at all. With the green thorny cat's speed, even if they joined the battle, they would be defeated in a short amount of time. This made the members of the expedition party even more unwilling. They felt that their participation was completely unnecessary. They wouldn't be able to do anything at all. How could they be willing to accept this? Let's not talk about how the members of the expedition party felt. Fei Fei and the other two didn't have the time to care about the ferocious attacks of the green thorny cat. The thorny cat kept pouncing towards the three of them. However, the three of them did not retreat. If they retreated, the thorny cat would definitely target the elite expedition team. As the leader of the expedition team, they had no choice but to retreat. Bing Ling was already behind Fei Fei the moment the green thorny cat made its move. When Fei Fei swung her sword and forced the green thorny cat away, his daggers were instantly covered in a layer of ice. The daggers expanded several times in size. It was Bing Ling's ice dagger battle technique. At this moment, BZ was much more useful than before. As if he had seen through the ice spirit's plan, BZ swung his knight's sword repeatedly. Streaks of sword shadows surrounded the green thorny cat and slowed it down for a split second. It was also this split second that gave the ice spirit the perfect opportunity to strike. Clang! A series of sparks flew out. Those were the sparks caused by the ice dagger stabbing into the blue thorny cat's body. Bing Ling's face was full of surprise when he felt a heavy force coming from the tip of his dagger. It was obvious that he didn't expect the blue thorny cat's fur to be this hard. Even his own battle technique couldn't break through its fur. When did the blue thorny cat become so tough? Speed, strength, defense. Every single one of them was so strong. Woo! Surprisingly, sparks appeared when the dagger hit its fur. Although the green thorny cat didn't seem to be injured, it let out a painful cry. Its eyes glowed fiercely and its body shook violently. In the next moment, Bing Ling and Bishi, who was behind him, were sent flying. They crashed into a big tree behind them, and the tree snapped. Both of them fell to the ground. However, they immediately jumped up and stared at the green thorny cat. Everyone in the expedition team let out a sigh of relief. Bing Ling's face was expressionless, but his arms were trembling. He could feel a tearing pain coming from his palms. Although he managed to block the blue thorny cat's attack, his hands were still numb from the impact. However, at this moment, he couldn't care less about his aching arms. He shouted anxiously, "Fei Fei, be careful." Yes, both of them were sent flying. The one closest to the green thorny cat was Fei Fei. The green thorny cat landed on the ground without making a single sound. It was like a soft cotton. It jumped up again and pounced towards Fei Fei. It swung its right paw and a dark green claw slashed towards Fei Fei's waist. If it was anyone else, they would have been slashed in half by the green thorny cat's attack. However, Fei Fei was different. She was level 69 and was only half a step away from reaching tier 8. She was undoubtedly the strongest among the three of them. Furthermore, Fei Fei had good battle awareness. Even though she couldn't keep up with the green thorny cat's speed, she could still see it clearly. The moment the thorny cat pounced, Fei Fei was already retreating. In the process of retreating, Fei Fei's body constantly changed positions. The moment the thorny cat's claws shot out, Fei Fei found the right position and leaned her upper body backwards. Her entire body bent into the shape of a bow, narrowly dodging the attack. Looking at the scene behind her, Fei Fei broke out in cold sweat. Fortunately, she did not choose to fight head-on. Otherwise, this attack would not be so easy to deal with at the same time. The blue thorny cat followed the trajectory of the claw and arrived in front of Bing Ling and Bishi. Doqi radiated from their bodies. Bing Ling and Bishi exuded a majestic amount of Do. Qi, the thorny cat, arrived in front of the two of them at lightning speed. However, what greeted it was a pair of daggers and a knight's sword. The blue thorny cat turned in the air and dodged the dagger and knight's sword. At the same time, Bing Ling and Bishi moved at the same time. Intense combat Qi radiated from their bodies. The dazzling combat Qi caused the blue thorny cat to squint its eyes as it closed in on them. Here's our chance. Bing Ling and Bishi's eyes lit up and they roared. Their ice daggers glowing with an icy blue light, and their giant swords struck out at the same time. The blue thorny cat narrowed its eyes, but it couldn't see what was going on in front of it. It slammed its head into the swords and let out a miserable shriek. The force of the collision sent the blue thorny cat flying into a cloud of dust. Great! Behind them, the members of the elite expedition team couldn't help but exclaim. Their faces were filled with excitement. In their opinion, the joint attack of the two leaders was definitely not something that a peak 7th Order magical beast could escape unscathed. Even if the green thorn cat didn't die from this attack, it should be close to death. However, when the thorny cat jumped out of the cloud of dust, everyone's excitement froze on their faces. However, when they saw the thorny cat's condition, their expressions became much better. At this moment, the blue thorny cat was in a sorry state. There were many scorched black spots on its tough fur, and its aura had also weakened significantly. This told everyone that the joint attack just now was indeed effective. The blue thorny cat shook its head violently. After a few seconds, it finally recovered. Feeling the pain in its body, the blue thorny cat was enraged. It raised its head and roared. Its blood-red eyes looked like they were going to bleed at any moment. It glared at Bing Ling and Bishi with bloodthirsty eyes. A murderous aura enveloped the entire area. The members of the expedition team couldn't help but feel suffocated. Their faces turned pale. As for Bing Ling and Bishi, they were at the center of the murderous aura. They could feel the murderous aura even more clearly. Although they didn't show it, their backs were cold and their hands were sweaty. At the same time, the blue thorny cat let out a whimper and leaped towards Bing Ling and Bishi. However, if you look closely, you'll notice that the blue thorny cat's speed is much slower than it was before. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.